Yo, 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 hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Andrewcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Buck2. Let me take a second and tell you about Buck2, what Buck2 is. Buck2 is an American fashion brand inspired by art and urban culture. You see, they blend Afro-inspired art and urban aesthetics to create unique and one-of-a-kind products that you will not find anywhere else in the world. As a brand, they want to see every authentic aspect of you, the customer, within their products. They are striving to create and awaken the culturally elevated through quality clothing that reflects you, again, the customer. Buck2 is really awesome. I had the honor of having Chris, the CEO, on our podcast, and he's a really, really good guy. And his product is really awesome too. I bought some of their merchandise before I had Chris on the show, and I was really happy with it. So, today, what I can do for you, the listener, is I'm going to hook you up real quick. If you go to the Buck2 website and you go to checkout and you put in the code Andrewcast39, that's all caps, Andrewcast, and then the number 39, you get 10% off your order. 10%. That's what I can do for you, the viewer, 10% off. So, go on over to Buck2.co. All you got to do is Google it, Buktu, to get you some Afro urban clothing. It's awesome. It's stylish. It's highly artistic. Great products. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Buck2. Thank you, Andrewcast listeners. And enjoy the show. Welcome back, episode 43 of Andrewcast, and I'm joined with Alexa Ross, recent Temple grad, in addition to the many Temple grads that have been on the show. She is a Mid-Atlantic nominee.
Mid-Atlantic College Emmy nominee.
College Emmy nominee. I shouldn't have even tried, but she's really good at reporting. She's had a lot of experience doing that. She went to South Korea, am I correct by saying that?
Yes.
Awesome. She's had a lot of experience. She's been to London. She's covered a lot of stories and events, and she is an interesting talent. She's also been a real big part of Temple TV, in addition to other people that have been in this podcast that have been part of Temple TV, myself included. And so she's had experience with Update and other stuff like that. And of course, as always,
Nice
Ryan
to see you
Acuna
again,
sporting a hat that I guess it's like an Eagles military hat.
It's like something like that, yeah. I just had to support my birds after the big win the other day.
And support the troops at the same time.
Alexa's also a big Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Oh, you
could argue.
idea.
You could argue Die Hard.
Oh.
Are you a
You could say
tailgate?
Die Hard.
Are you a tailgate person?
Oh
or-
yeah, my dad's been an Eagles season ticket holder since 1985, in which he came home from a break and with his best friend from Drexel, he was going to PCOM after he graduated at Virginia, and so they were like, you know what? Why not look into season tickets and stuff like that? So they went down to the vet and they said, hey, so what two pairs do you have available and how much do they cost? And so this woman was like, here, 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 and here. And they were like, okay, well, which are the best seats? She said, go check them out for yourself. So my dad got to handpick his season tickets in the vet in 1985. So when they opened the link, I think they got pretty higher up there dibs on their seats, or they got like pretty similarly equated seats. And then when they opened the Miller Flight Deck in the Northeast Terrace, he moved his seats down there. And so I've been going to Eagles games for a very long time. I've been watching the Birds for so long, and I really credit that to my my passion for sports and also like why I would do what I want to do.
That's crazy. I mean, to have that good of seats throughout your entire life. And do they give you like a lot spot?
Keep talking. I'm gonna get up and look at one thing on the camera.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah, my question is, do they give you a lot spot with that season ticket hold?
Yes, you can buy a parking pass with that, and so Lot K is the season ticket holders lot, which is also the infamous Temple tailgating lot.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm sure we all have stories from Lot K, but I grew up in Lot K, essentially, and people make fun of me when I say that because they think I'm talking about Temple football, and I'm like, no, like, I've been going here since I was like 7, 8 years old and just existing and like
right. So
being
you were a vet when we were all rookies.
Oh yeah,
you know, our freshman
I was like,
year.
don't worry about it, guys, I got it. But that's why now that I'm an alum, we try to go to games because I used to cover football games for like the last second half of my college career. So like I really didn't get to go as a fan. So now that we're alumni, a couple of my TV friends and marching band friends who never really got to experience a game as being, as like enjoying it.
You're talking about a Temple game?
Yeah, so we're going to start tailgating hard and hopefully carry on my father's legacy as the master tailgater.
Right.
But they're just like perpetual college dudes who bring a grill and bring some beer and throw a football and just bring a ton of people, and it's really, really nice.
Did you ever see the dude that comes? This guy comes to the Phillies tailgates where he like challenges people to like drinking games. Did you ever see this guy?
Is it you? Is this a big deal?
No. How crazy would that be? I show up with a mask.
Spoiler
Like,
alert, it's me.
you're a guy.
I challenge you
dressed
right
up
now.
as a guy. No, this dude came by when we were at the Phillies tailgate, and he was like, "Yo, what's up? You guys got drinks?" And we were just like, "Yeah, we're just chilling." He's like, "I bet I could drink more than y'all." He's like, "I bet $100." And we're like, "Nah, man, we're." I was like, "We're cool, bro. Like, we're just chilling." So the guy walks away, and my friend Drew goes, "That guy comes to every single Phillies tailgate, and he always does the same thing. He's like a swindler. Like, he swindles people out of their money. Apparently, like, he's really good at this like one drinking game. Like, he always wins for some reason."
Are we talking flip cup? We talking beer?
I don't
pong?
know, but he went over.
Baseball?
He went over and like to this other group that was next to us, and like we were kind of just talking to ourselves, but we kept looking at this other group that was next to us. And the next thing I know, I see him talking to the guys, and they're pulling money out of their wallets. I'm like, okay, these guys are game. And like he beat them and like walked off with like
Their
all these
cash.
hundreds. Yeah,
But you
he's
say-
like this older black dude. He talks like this. He's like, "What's up, man?"
But, like,
Y'all
you
trying to
say
drink? I'm like,
swindle
"We're
as
chilling,
if-
man."
You say swindle as if he like hustled them, like he was
I
playing
mean,
really
kinda.
bad at first.
He could have hustled them. I mean, did
I
you
guess
watch
we
the
don't.
whole thing?
Yeah, we don't know the
I
full
didn't.
story.
I'd
guess.
see you're like, don't call him a swindler, but like he had that thing like that it was like a game that was rigged. You know what I'm saying? You don't come up to people and like bet people hundreds of dollars on some drinking game unless like
You
know
do
you're
if you're
gonna
sure
win.
as hell you're gonna win.
I don't know, man. Like this guy he was definitely sketchy. Like he was going around asking every single group like, "Yo, you guys want to play me this game? You want to play me in this game?" Like, what's up with this guy?
Do you guys know that the backflip dude at Temple? Like, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, Flips.
Oh,
Dude,
is that his
Flips.
name? Flips.
What a guy.
Flips. We had somebody similar at my high school, Bensalem High School. His name was Dr. Extreme. And he there was like this liaison.
Go on.
There was this liaison between the high school property and the football property where people would go practice like football, and there was a soccer field too. And he would be on that bridge, that little liaison between the two properties, and he'd be like, "You guys want to see me do a backflip?" And he would stand up on this like outhouse every single day and like do a flip off of it. He was in our high school, but he dropped out. I think that was
So
the
like, was he
story.
doing flips after he dropped out? That was
Yeah,
his
he was
career
just
path?
he like every day would still come back to like the high school and
Why
like
drop
do
out at that
do
point?
flips.
I know.
You might as well get your degree and also do some backflips.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty important stuff.
Join the circus.
I wish I could do backflips.
I always think about
Have you ever tried?
So I used to be a diver. A little known fact about me.
Okay.
Like a competitive diver for a season, not long. I was more so.
We
a swimmer.
talking like high school, middle school? What we doing?
Middle school. I was
Middle
in middle
school,
school.
okay.
Middle school. Perkins Valley Aquatic Club. Shout out PVAC.
Hey.
Yeah, just kidding. I did not. Yeah, I did not continue into high school because I was a theater kid. More on that later. But I tried to do a backflip or like a back pike, which is essentially kind of like a backflip into the pool right before a meet, and I fucked up my back so badly. Like, I've never been in so much pain on my back. You know when you belly flop and you're just like bright red and
Oh, yeah.
everything hurts? I had that on my back, so I like couldn't sit down. I couldn't really do much, and I think that's really when I was like, I can't do this anymore. I am
Really,
not
just from the-
diving.
from-
As soon as you said try, I winced because I was like, this isn't gonna end well.
No, it never is.
It's like I tried to do a backflip. It's like, uh-oh, you didn't do the
And
backflip.
was that the moment you called it quits?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
No, I think I really did enjoy swimming more, but as life progressed, we realized that I was not nearly as athletic as my athletic knowledge would seem. I am actually a closet theater kid. It's not even like closet. Like, there are people in college who don't know that about me, and I think it's ridiculous because that was my whole identity my whole life.
So you mean like theater as in you like to watch a lot of theater?
No,
I
did a lot of theater.
So you were in the plays.
Yeah, plays, musicals. I danced, things like that.
Cool.
So very musical, very all of that.
What's your favorite musical?
You got to give me like
Okay, what's the favorite musical you did?
Mary Poppins,
I like that.
which was fun. So it was supposed to be my senior show going into my senior year of high school. I got shafted, which was pretty terrible. Yeah, it was not. I'm still bitter about it.
Well,
It's
the last
been-
year, yeah.
Was there a lot of
It's hard.
controversy?
Yeah, because I had been getting leads since I was a freshman, which pissed off a lot of seniors. And then as a senior, I lost my part to a sophomore, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because I kind of got to just like do whatever I wanted and get away with it. And if they directed someone to do something, I'd just be like, no,
Yeah, no thanks.
I'm not doing that. But my best friend, Nick, who has just been like my life since we were in 7th grade, we actually met doing High School Musical when he was in 6th grade and I was in 7th grade. Shout out to him.
Were you both the lead roles?
We were not, but we.
Okay.
That would have been cool.
That would have been great.
I wish. His older sister was a featured dancer in all of our shows,
Yeah.
which was kind of what I did as well.
Okay.
So we got close, and then obviously her brother came into school, and then we all just like kind of became a posse, and now they're basically my family. But
Cool.
that was supposed to be our senior show, as Mary Poppins, but the rights hadn't been released yet, and so we were just kind of like, this sucks, because that would have been super dope. And a community theater near us, a children's theater, did Mary Poppins the summer after my freshman year of college, and I was like, dude, before you go to school, we got to do this. Like, this could be really, really cool.
Yeah, this is our big break.
Yeah, this is our moment. Like, we would have
Get it together.
killed it. We got to get together. We got to breathe, do some warm-ups.
So you sign up for this community play. Were you Mary Poppins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
As
part-
it should
we
be.
tried
It
out.
all is right with the world.
Oh, it was like everything. It was like everything that happened senior year didn't. And it was really cool because like there were kids of like varying ages. There were some people a little bit older than me. The cutoff was 21.
Yeah.
So we were 18 and 19. And then like the kids who played the kids were like 11 and 12. And everybody was just really cool. And like I found a lot of friends and a lot of acceptance in community theater, which I think is why I liked it so much. Because, you know, middle school's pretty terrible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's the worst.
Also to act like it's a kind of a non-judgment space because people are getting out of themselves. You know, it's a very vulnerable thing to pretend in front of other people. So I feel like it's open-minded in general.
You're
most
telling
people.
someone else's story,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. Like somebody was written with this story in mind by a really incredible creative probably,
Yeah.
who, you know, you get to immerse yourself in that and you get to portray their story. And I kind of like that crossover between broadcasting and theater. Is that like I tell other people's stories, which is
Yeah.
why this is so weird for me because I don't talk about myself much. I'm more used to talking about other people and telling their stories, so
Yeah.
or being someone else in regards to theater. So
That was gonna be my next question. Like, why didn't you go to Temple for theater?
my senior year of high school, I went all in trying to audition for BFA programs for musical theater.
Right.
I auditioned for 2 competitive programs, like programs that were too competitive and too few. And I still like applied to like 12 schools. So I applied to some schools just academically, some schools that I could split and do other things if I didn't get into their theater program, and some specifically just for theater. I got into all of my schools academically except one. I would have gotten into Temple's musical theater program had I auditioned a week earlier, as told to me by some friends in the department.
Was it rolling?
So, well, you schedule your auditions in the beginning, but like in journalism and things like that, when you're casting a musical theater or an acting program, you don't want to have 4 girls who are brunettes and short and can belt and kind of dance, or like
Belt to sing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a type of like vocal technique, or a bunch of guys who are all really buff and meaty who like can play the machismo dude, or however many little blonde girls who can be the ingenue and things like that. So like they had met their quota, which is fine, but I was heartbroken. Like I was absolutely devastated. I don't think I had been that upset probably since my grandmother died. I was just beside myself. I didn't know what to do. It was my whole life.
Dang.
Just I devoted so much of my time, my energy, and my life.
So this is you senior year.
It's
You
my
had applied to these 12 schools and you didn't get into the ones you wanted to.
I got in academically. I did not get into the programs, like the audition programs. So my dad had a former neighbor who used to date a Temple Media Studies and Production professor, who he reached out to and said, hey, my daughter got accepted here, and I think media could be a pretty solid move for her. And as my teachers had also said in my mini interventions of, like, we know you're upset, but, like, you're a good writer and you've done the broadcasts and things like that. Why not go for journalism? And I was like, you know what, like, why not? So I went to Temple the following week and talked to people in the department. Everyone was really nice. I was like, oh, you know, like, this is cool, I guess. But the day before, I got off the wait list into Newhouse in Syracuse, which, for those of you who don't know, Newhouse is, like, the communication school in the country. Like, hands down, best. That's the name. That's all of it, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is huge. This is really, really big. People don't get into this program. Like, I guess they saw something in me. And I guess that kind of restored confidence that I didn't have following my theater rejections.
So why did you choose Temple?
So Syracuse is a $66,000 a year school.
Yeah.
Big bucks.
My scholarship was $6,000 a year. What was that going to get me?
I don't know. Like maybe
Nothing.
maybe one meal,
A meal,
napkin,
a book.
a comforter.
Especially considering the amount of debt that you would go into and the amount of money that you would make starting in a typical communication.
Exactly.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's obviously a smart move, but so many people in your shoes don't make the smart move in that choice because they're not thinking about like what their income is going to be when they start.
You're choosing prestige, or you're choosing not to be like $200,000 in debt once you're all said
Dude,
and
it's
done.
not even prestige. You're just going to an expensive school. I mean, yeah, it's going to look awesome on a resume, but like you could get a communication job entry level at any school as long as you work for it. Like
Yeah.
that's what's different about communications, and that's why like I can see it in you. Like you're a hustle go getter. You get stuff done. You do stuff, and it's people like you who get jobs. You know what I'm saying? In communications and media studies and production. That's it. Because they can teach you all this media studies and production stuff. It's not really important. I mean, I went through it. You know,
Yeah.
so it's what are you doing besides that? Are you doing Temple TV? Are you doing the stuff like people who hustle and get stuff done? They're the people that get jobs. So, but yeah, you might get a job like based off a school name, but thank God you didn't do that because you'd be swimming in debt.
Yeah,
You'd
I
be
feel
swimming
like
in
it's
debt.
very much a more so a name and connections thing, which is cool. But that was before, you know, I really learned a lot of things about the program that I was entering.
Yeah.
And so I committed to Temple. I wasn't all in on it. I was like, you know, I can transfer if I hate it. I can.
You're savage for going. Because most people, when they don't get into like the theater program, they'd be like, why go here at all? You know what I'm saying?
Well, Temple was one of those, like, it could have gone either way. Syracuse was one of those, it could have gone either way. There were a couple schools like that. And, like,
Yeah.
Temple and Syracuse were my big, like, I can do a lot of other things if I commit to these programs. Temple gave me the most money.
Right.
I said, you know what? Why not? And then I went for orientation and I fell in love.
Did you have any affiliation with Temple, whether it was watching their sports or listening to their broadcasting or, you know, anything of the sort before you went to Temple?
I mean, besides my dad knowing Sherry, there wasn't much I knew about Temple. I knew that, you know, it was the party school for a long time. Not so much like when I graduated, or maybe it still was, but I just didn't care because when you're 21, you don't do that anymore. Less so than like my little sister just started at Delaware.
Oh, cool.
Which was just voted the #1 party school.
Yeah,
Wow.
beautiful campus.
Beautiful campus, beautiful places. But when we were moving her in, there were just day-longs going on that you could see from her dorm.
Yeah,
I thought it was
they
the
call them
funniest
dages,
thing.
don't they?
Yeah, they call them dages, which is terrible. I was like, don't say that.
You're like, you can think of a better word than
I was
that.
like, well, I also told her not to buy a lanyard. I was like, you're going to look like such a freshman if you buy a lanyard and then wear said lanyard.
Oh.
So I've just been
Yeah,
trying to,
but
you know,
everyone has to go through that.
not.
It's a rite of
You don't
passage.
have, yeah, it's true. But yeah, but back to that, I just kind of knew it as a party school. And I was like, I did really well in school. I got really good grades. I studied really hard. I took a ton of AP classes. Like, not that I was like better than the program, but it was like, am I going to get what I need out of this because of its reputation?
Yeah.
And then obviously everything I learned had been proven wrong just through all the opportunities I had and everything that I gotten involved with.
Right.
And everybody jokingly would just be like, oh yeah, you're the poster child for Temple University. Like, you're in Greek life, you're involved,
So they called you that.
Oh, all of my friends called me that. And then I got offered a job to essentially be a student ambassador for
Nice.
Klein.
Very cool.
It's pretty high praise.
Yeah. So
Do you know who I am? I'm the poster child. You don't talk to me like that. You don't talk to me like this.
But
That's cool.
yeah, so I got to be a tour guide in Klein, and so I got to, impart I did all these things now.
No,
but
and that's important too.
Yeah, but it was really great because hopefully somebody could have a different sense of it than what I did, but also obviously things have gotten better for Temple.
Yeah.
Like rankings have skyrocketed, except if you're in Fox. Sorry,
Yeah.
Fox.
Oh my God. Did you read about that?
Yeah, it's
True.
whack.
Do you hear about that?
Scandal. Yeah, man. Scandal. Craziness.
Yeah, me and my friend who was actually in Fox was talking about that the other day. What exactly happened? Did he embezzle money? Or was he falsifying?
He was falsifying their rankings or something like that, or like how many people were getting employed, so they can.
Oh yeah, it was like 100% passing of the GMAT or something like that, or no, not the
fudging
GMAT,
the
the
numbers.
MBA program.
Yeah.
100% pass rate, which is impossible. Like
and like
someone
100%
fails.
like job completion, like job acceptance rate upon graduation and things like that. And it was just kind of like,
My thing
this
is
whack.
Yo, you're the head of a whole entire school of the university. How do you think you can get away with that?
In the words of the RZA, man, when it comes to money, things get funny. That's it. I'm telling you, people will lie, man, and it happens all the time. Like administration, and this isn't talked about. I'm not talking about on administration in Temple. I'm just talking about anywhere where there's money being involved and there's numbers being reported, man. Don't be surprised, dude, if people try and take advantage. Like you never know. That's why it's just like, especially in a university as big as Temple, like any big organization, you got to be careful with these like tiny little facets. And the thing is, they're not even a tiny facet. They're like a big draw
it's
to
a
Temple.
whole ranking
They're
of an
a huge
entire
draw.
school.
Yeah.
They're it. They're what people pump money into. They have big time donors, things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You're talking about the Fox School of Business.
Yeah.
Big time donors.
This is why we need to start pumping more money into Klein, because we wouldn't do
Talk
any
about
of
it.
that.
Talk about it. What was wrong with Klein?
Nothing's wrong with Klein is what I'm saying, is saying that we have our few donors like Jerry Lenfest, who unfortunately passed away a month ago or so.
What?
Luke Klein, who's the pioneer of American television, essentially. They renamed the school for him. When I started, it was the Temple University School of Media and Communication, and now it's the Luke Klein College of Media and Communication. Luke Klein he produced American Bandstand and things like that. So
Bandstand? What's that?
It was a big show in the 60s?
Somewhere around there, 60s, 70s.
Yeah. But
American
it was just
Bandstand.
it was huge, and it ran forever, and it was one of the first shows that people would tune in and watch with their families. Kind of like an Ed Sullivan type of thing.
Yeah.
But so you have Luke Klein, and then you have the alum like Bob Saget, and
Yeah, he was an alumni of my high school too.
wow,
It's great. Yeah, I know. I'm following Bob Saget's footsteps.
You're on the Bob Saget life plan, really.
That's the whole reason I went to Temple, everyone. It's been working out great for me. So, but no, it was crazy because they were all probably fake, but you would open up a textbook at Abington High School and everything would be signed Bob Saget, year of whatever year he went there, or maybe that was a lie. I don't know, but
Wow.
yeah, big Bob Saget fan.
Good for you though, Alexa, for persevering through rejection. And you said something that was very interesting. You said that that shattered your confidence. And
Absolutely.
I mean, and that happens a lot, not only with college rejections, but with job rejections. And so, I mean, I don't know exactly how you feel about that still to this day, but I've definitely had similar occurrences where I've walked away from it being yo, my confidence is just in pieces right now. And it takes a lot of courage to get back up and to go in and then to get involved as much as you did on top of that, to pretty much go full circle from facing this rejection to being all in. And, I'm sure it served you well. It seems like it has.
I hope so.
That's cool.
Mean, I don't regret being as upset as I was. It was a very valid feeling that I had felt, and now I realize that this thing that I loved so dearly and was so close to my life, I can still enjoy. I can still do, later in my career, or if I eventually stop doing things, I can do community theater. I can act. I can teach dance. I can do these things and enjoy them and not make them my career. I don't have to be up at 4 a.m. every day going into auditions. I might have to be up at 4 a.m. to go drive to a game, but that's fine. At least I have that job. And so, I don't know. I mean, it was a weird thing for sure, and it definitely didn't feel good. But I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I know that's like literally the biggest cliche that anyone has ever thrown around ever.
It's true though, and losing is supposed to hurt. You know, when you lose, you're not supposed to drop everything and give up. You know, you're supposed to persevere, but it has to hurt. Losing has to hurt. If it doesn't, then like there's no motivation for you to win later on in the future. I like. There's a saying that's like, show me a man who's a son of a great man. You know, people who face adversity, people who face setbacks, those are the people who tend to succeed. So, I mean, you face one pretty early on in life. You know, you're young. And I think that, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what you're saying is like that kind of built you up. Like everything happens for a reason, like you said. And it's not just the thing that people say to rationalize stuff that happens wrong that's out of their control. It's a thing that's like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but it's also a thing that's like, I can use this to not only gain perspective on my situation, but to get past it. You know, like this failure that I have isn't final. That's always my thing. Like failure isn't final. No matter how bad I mess up, and I mess up a lot, it's like there's never a fatal failure, you know? Unless, of course, like, I don't know, you're drunk driving or you're not wearing your seatbelt. Then it's a fatal failure. But as far as putting yourself out there and applying to something or going for your dreams, if you don't get it, like, it just shows you, like, how far you got to shoot next time. Mm-hmm. I've had so many experiences like that. It's nuts.
That's how I got the Olympics.
That's what I wanted to ask you about next. How was that? You got to tell us the whole story.
Okay, so...
There's a lot to talk about, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I could spend 6 hours talking about this. So... Yeah. When I was in London, I took a class called Sporting London. Mm-hmm. It was offered as like one of my journalism electives, so I was like, heck yeah, I'll take this. This looks super cool. So we got to like go to Wembley and go to Wimbledon and go see a rugby match and a soccer match and things like that. And it was super cool. But the class was more so structured around the modern day Olympics because London has hosted it 3 times.
Right.
And like I've always been like a big Olympics watcher. Like my
Really?
family will. Oh yeah. My family will like always make sure to like tune in for opening. We're more summer than winter Olympics people, which I feel like a lot of people are.
Well, yeah, everyone likes to watch snowboarding and stuff like that.
Yeah, people watch snowboarding, people watch ice hockey, things like that. Bobsled and luge. Everybody loves to talk about bobsled. Is that
the Jamaican
cool
bobsled
sport.
team?
Yeah,
do you think that started it, or do you think they were into it beforehand?
I think European people were super into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I went to a bobsleigh competition and I hung out with this woman who was somewhere in the UK. I don't know where exactly she was from. I know she was from England. I don't know where. And we were talking about it. She's like, this is like my favorite sport to watch. It always has been. Like our team is so good. And I was like, you know what? Your passion for this is how so many other people feel about like the minor sports of America.
Right.
So like I can't even like,
do they see it like go-karting or something where
no, I think it's like kind of like people like bobsleigh, kind of like people like NASCAR. Like it's a very like niche thing, but people are all into it.
Yeah.
Do you like NASCAR?
No. I can't get it. Listen, I grew up around here.
Right.
Like I did not have any of that those southern ties. I think it's a very interesting like cultural staple of the South. I kind of wish I understood it more, kind of like horse racing, like the derbies and things like that.
I remember when Smarty Jones was big around here. Remember him?
Yeah.
And like, everyone was going crazy when he had that big race. But I mean, I must have been like 10. I didn't really care.
Unless you got money on a race, it's not really that fun to watch a race that's just in a circle. Like I can understand like IndyCar, Formula One, where there's just like going around street corners and stuff. But I went to a NASCAR race one time, and the most exciting part, I lie to you not, was when the Jets flew over the stadium. I was like, dude, this is amazing. I literally was like, I turned to like watch
how are they
them.
going to top this? And they didn't.
Dude, after that, I just walked around the stadium for the rest of the time. It's cars going around in a circle, man. That's what it is to me. But again, your point.
Yeah.
Niche sports, people who are into niche sports, they're all in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no half NASCAR fans. There's no half bobsled fans.
It's like the inferiority complex that like people who watch the NHL have and people who watch professional European soccer have, because they're like, how dare you disrespect my sport, or how dare you talk about my sport, or da-da-da-da, if you don't follow the sport like I do. But like most people are like blind NFL watchers or like blind NBA watchers, like the big revenue sports like that. Whereas like, I don't know, like people who...
Does bobsled make any revenue?
In other countries, yeah, not here.
Yeah.
I mean, I met a couple people on the sliding sports team from the U.S. and they were pretty cool. But I really love the Great Britain team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so back to off of my tangent.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of these on the show.
Oh,
Just full
great.
tangents,
We're in.
We're good.
So my professor for that class, she was an English woman who, she is a swim coach, but she is an official. she was an official for the Olympics in London, like in the pool for water polo, and she was a lap timer for swimming. And so she's super interesting, like talked all about the Olympics, and I was like, I love her passion. She was like, yeah, this is the coolest thing you'll ever work. It's definitely like not just the epitome of sport, but of sports broadcasting and da-da-da. And I was like, you know what? The Olympics is coming. The Winter Olympics are coming up. I might as well see if there's anything going on, because Rio was that summer. And so obviously, you know, I wouldn't have been there for the Rio summer, which is fine. Or was it the Rio summer? Or was Rio the summer?
It was
before?
summer. It was summer.
No, I know it was summer. I'm just thinking if it was like right after I came home from Korea or the following year. Anyway, or
Yeah, that I don't
from
know.
England. Anyway, back to that. So she and I looked into it. We just kind of like scoured the internet, and she found the link on NBC's website for an NBC Sports internship in Rio. And I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like, it was very much like a shits
Shoot
and
your
giggles
shot.
kind of thing. No, I was totally shooting my shot before Shoot Your Shot 2017
Right, before that
became
was
a
a
thing.
thing.
I was
That
like,
is very recent, isn't it?
yeah, that's very much a 2017 thing. But I was just like, you know what? I don't care.
Yep.
Why not? Like, the worst that can happen is they say no.
Yep. I always think that.
Like, the worst you can say is no. So I was like, you know what? Why not? I had a couple weeks. So once I came home from England, worked on my cover letter, flipped my resume, like, just did a ton of different things. Didn't hear back. Like, I got the confirmation, like, oh, thank you so much for submitting. And I was like, okay. And the app was due, like, the beginning of May. So Memorial Day weekend rolls around, and I get an email saying, congratulations, you've advanced to the first round of interviews, which were online, and I was down the shore. And the shore.
Were you drunk when you read this?
No, but I was a little intoxicated when I got the call that I got the gig.
Right.
We'll get back to that.
Okay, yeah, please. Go on.
But so I'm reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And they were like, yeah, you have until like 8 p.m. on Sunday to submit this, Eastern Standard Time. And I was like, I am at the Jersey Shore. I do not have business casual clothes to record an interview. What am I going to do? I freaked out. I like ran in and told my parents. I was like, I don't know what to do. And they were like, just go to the Marshalls on the mainland and like buy something and then return it or something if you really don't want to keep it.
Smart.
So I went and bought a dress that I
Aw.
wore for 20 minutes during my interview and returned. But
Wow.
the interview consisted of questions like they ask a lot about like what your favorite Olympic moment was.
Was this Skype or was this automated questions?
Automated questions, so I
those
had
are the
to
worst.
record myself,
Those are
which
the
was
worst.
terrible.
Is that a standard in
I've
the
done
industry?
so much for big media companies, for Turner Broadcasting. They do that all the time. I
Yeah.
hate those. But yeah, continue. Sorry, I just need to ask because I want to paint the
Oh
picture in
no,
my
it's
mind.
terrible. I was just like talking to myself in my bedroom.
And you get like 2 tries, and they're like, make sure the lighting's good. Like, make sure you have something flat in the wall behind you.
Yeah,
like,
they're like, be in front of a plain wall, and I was like,
yeah, where? Anyways.
yeah, where can I find one of those? I don't know what that is.
I totally feel your pain.
But one of the questions they asked was, what was your favorite Olympic moment?
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I can do a couple things. I can take the miracle route, which I was not alive for, B, and didn't see live. B, I mean, I love ice hockey and like have for a while, but like Olympic ice hockey was never like it for me.
So do you think an answer to a question like that you have to experience? You can't just be something.
Probably.
Can't just be a part of history that you heard about and it was really inspiring for you.
Yeah, I think it was probably something more so just like something you've experienced, which is kind of how I took it. And so I was thinking, and like my best friend growing up, she was a gymnast, like pre-Olympics gymnast, like very, very much like going for her gold. And like she really wanted to compete in the Olympics, and she could have if she didn't get hurt. But in like one of her biggest meets of the year, she fractured her growth plate in her elbow.
Wow.
And so that was devastating for her because she
yeah.
could have competed in London in 2012. But we were really all in 2008 on, like, very into the U.S. women's team, like the gymnastics team. And so my moment was when Allie Raisman in 2012, former 2016 captain, did a floor routine to Havanagila. And, like, or, yes. No, it was Havanagila. And it was all in honor of the Munich 11, which was a bombing on Jewish athletes.
Well, weren't they murdered in their own?
Yes.
This is the 70s, correct?
Yes, it was in the 70s. Yeah. So, but she did this in honor of them, and I was like, this was really uniting for Jewish people all over the world, and not just like me as an American girl. Like, I watched this and I felt really moved by it, because it's like, wow, she's proud of her heritage and she's doing this and she's bringing that to the international stage. She's more than an American. She's a Jewish American. She's a gymnast. She's an Olympian. And then she became a gold medalist for that routine.
Pretty cool.
And so I talked about that, and I think that's definitely something that probably set me apart, because I have the personal connection of Judaism.
Yeah.
And also that it's just like, it's not something that you think, because when you think of like the things you remember from the Olympics you've been alive for, you think Michael Phelps, or you think Phelps.
Who was that guy? So this is always something I remember from the Olympics. It might have been the Summer Olympics. It was like a sprint event where the guy, like I think he tore his Achilles in the middle of the race, and then his dad picked him up, and then walked him to the finish line. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, things like that. Those are the things that like that wouldn't have even been, I think, one that too many people used.
Really?
Just because people are gonna like in interview settings like that where you're just like immediately like recorded, I feel like you just kind of think of the first thing that comes to your head, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, really? I literally just like sat there and I was like, I have 90 seconds to think of something, and it's gonna be really good or it's gonna be really terrible.
But that's the thing, is that on those spur of the moment questions, like when you give a really good answer, it's really good because it's really genuine, and you know for a fact that you feel that way about whatever you're talking about.
Yeah. And you're right, man. But like, to get back to these interviews, you're not in front of another person. You're in front of yourself during these computer interviews. You see yourself being recorded, and like if I'm talking to you, I can gauge your reaction, and like I can, because of social cues, I can talk and I can see in your face what you're interested in as I'm talking. So I can go in like more of a direction. But with this, you're literally monologuing. That's why these first rounds are so difficult. Like I've been in 4 of them already, and so it's like you just have to give an excellent monologue. And sometimes they only give you 2 tries. I'm not sure if they give you 1 try or 2 tries.
We got 2 tries, but it wasn't like per question. It wasn't like, it was like per whole interview, and I was not doing the interview again. I was like, no pans off, no shot, I'm not doing this again.
Right. And that's usually the best strategy, because when you overthink and you try and do 2 of those shots, like it's when you've already muddled what you've said. Like what comes off the top. So to go back to your point, what comes off the top, what's immediate, usually is what's best. But it's harder to do when you're not looking at the interviewer per se. When you're looking at yourself, it's like so nerve-wracking.
So you think those social cues give you confidence with what you're saying, or not, or like you know when to pivot, I guess?
I think so. I mean, I think in interviews, it's always, even if I'm like interviewing a subject, or you guys are interviewing me, or I'm interviewing for a job or an internship or whatever, I think that being able to look at somebody and kind of understand like what's behind their eyes or whatever is
big.
It's huge.
It's huge.
And it can really portray a lot. Like, I don't like people who are like dead behind their eyes. Like, it really bothers me. It's like one of my pet peeves is when people don't do eye contact, or like are dead behind their eyes.
You mean like avoiding eye contact with you?
That, or also people who just like don't express through their eyes, which is something you can't really control.
Yeah.
But like lack of eye contact will obviously do that. Because I feel like I'm very, like, my face is very expressive, and like I've always been very facially expressive.
Or an actress. Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. But no, it's exactly. And so I think that things like that are really helpful. But I didn't think it went well. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to family dinner now. Bye. And I showed up 15 minutes late to family dinner.
Yep.
And I didn't want to talk about it. Everybody knew what I was doing. And my mom told everybody, like, nah, we're not talking about this.
Let me ask you this. Are you someone that generally thinks that they do well in interviews?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty...
Keep going.
Are we on the same wavelength?
I feel your pain so much. I've been in so many job interviews, but again, like the most common are these first rounds, and you don't want your mom to be like, oh, like, you know, Alexa just did this and this and that, because then you don't get it, and people are constantly asking like every week, like, yo, how's the Olympic thing going? Like, I didn't hear about it yet. I didn't hear about it yet. Exactly. So like you made the right move by sitting down at the table and just being like, yo, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I was like, listen, I'm gonna eat my clams and spaghetti and my crabs and all of my seafoods at this wonderful family meal that we're eating, and I'm gonna forget about it.
That's
and
it.
Big seafood person?
When I'm down the shore, yeah. If it's like fresh seafood, I'm really into it.
Right.
I don't
think anyone likes like leftover seafood.
people will like get frozen seafood though, and I'm not into that.
No,
Like people
thanks.
who like reheat, like or like get fish sticks or things like that.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Drew?
Dude, it's all about crabs, man. It's all about crabs.
But leftover crabs?
Oh, nah, bro. You don't want leftover
Yeah,
seafood
exactly.
in general, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's how I
No,
feel.
straight out the ocean. But it's
All
all
right.
about crabs.
Glad we're all on the same page.
Yeah. But pretend the interview didn't happen. That's always my thing. I'm
Yeah,
just like, what
it's
interview?
like okay,
Yeah.
done. I
That's
don't,
it.
all right, because I feel like speaking things into existence, I think can help to an extent, but like that's for yourself, not for other people.
Yes.
So like you can be like, yeah, I crushed that interview. Like that was really dope. Maybe this could be a thing. Instead of like going and telling everyone about it. Like I think maybe my like group of TV friends, out of them, maybe 4 people knew
Yeah.
about that, and like my immediate family and my best friend Nick that I was talking about earlier. Like those are the people who knew this thing that I was trying to do.
For sure.
And so got the email back and it was like, hey, thanks for interviewing. You'll hear back by the end of the summer.
Oh.
Yep.
And so I said, now I have to go about my summer like a normal person.
Yep.
Yeah,
And,
that must
like,
have been a nightmare.
Oh, it was terrible. It was worse. And so
How did you cope?
I took my capstone. I took my capstone.
There you go. Yeah.
To distract me.
That's it. Replace one enemy with a bigger enemy. That's how
Oh
it
my
goes.
God. Yeah, it was terrible.
So wait, what'd you have to do for your capstone?
Anybody who's ever gone through the Temple journalism department will know that Philadelphia neighborhoods is one of the most like stressful, time-consuming, terrible classes you'll ever take, but it's also the capstone. So it's basically a multimedia reporting class in which the students are paired with another person, and you are given a beat or a neighborhood in the city that goes underreported.
You said a beat?
A beat, so like politics, music, arts and
okay.
entertainment.
So like a subject.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what a beat is. And so we were just kind of like, I was like, I can't do this with football season coming up because that's going to be terrible. And if I get this Olympics job, I can't do it in the spring because I'll miss a month of school. So I was like, well, guess I'm taking my capstone in the summer. And so I came home from London, took my capstone in the summer, hated every second of it. It was just because it was the same amount of work that you had to do over 14 weeks condensed into 6.
Yeah, any summer class is a nightmare. They used to do the same thing with like science classes. Like think about fitting like organic chemistry or biochemistry into 8 weeks as opposed to 15. Like it's just not going to be a good idea unless you have like prior knowledge of it. But back to that, like what beat did you do?
So I had West Poplar and Northern Liberties. So I had everything from like Girard to Spring Garden, from Broad to like Front Street. So I had a really big space, and I was really lucky because it was a space I really wanted, because there are a lot of stories to be told in there. There's a lot of gentrification in the area, but there's also a lot of people who have like been there through the gentrification and like are kind of like the heart and soul of the neighborhood, and that's kind of what the whole point of the class is. And like I think the hardest thing about it is just like people getting back to you, because like at least for athletics and college athletics, like you email the sports information director who will be like, oh, you will interview so and so at this time, and you're like, cool, great. And if something needs to change, it won't happen 5 minutes before it happens. And so, and all of our things, because they were projects, were on like much strict, like very strict deadline. Like at least if I'm doing something for a show, I can scrap it and figure out something else. But like when you're working with a partner and you need to get something done immediately, it's just like it's really hard. And usually you'll pair up by like being like better at multimedia stuff and better at writing. That's kind of the strategy most people take, and then just split the work. But yeah, it was really bad. Getting a B in that class was like, I was like, all I have to do is get a 73. I just have to pass. That's all I need.
But everyone has a class like that.
Yeah, and it was just like a lot, and it was super stressful, but you know, it got done, and it distracted me for half the summer. And then by that point, it was just kind of like I wasn't paying attention to that. Like I was just kind of working and doing other things and going to the shore and hanging out with friends and, you know, just having a summer. And because I didn't take an internship because of my capstone. And then it rolls around to Labor Day weekend last year, so it's like a little over the year anniversary of me finding out about the Olympics. I was sitting on the beach with my family friends who are actually cousins with the people I was saying are like my family earlier, Nick and Julia. They're cousins. All of us were together on the beach in Ocean City, just hanging out. I drove up to their house because it was right before Nick was going back out to LA. We were all just, you know, having a ball and hanging out. And I got a phone call from a Miami phone number. And I just screened it because I was like, I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's one of those scams.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who this is. Like, I'm not expecting a call from Miami. In my head, it's coming from Connecticut. because NBC's office is in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be ready for a Connecticut phone number. And so I screened the call. I went in the ocean, got out of the ocean, and saw that I had a voicemail. So I was like, okay, cool. That's kind of important. And it was like, hi, this is so-and-so calling in regard to your Olympic application for NBC Sports. If you could call me back. And I literally didn't listen to the rest of the voicemail. I immediately called her back after having 1 or 2 rum runners, which is a fun beachy beverage.
So wait. Let me get this straight. The first thing that went through your head before calling them back was that I need to have a few drinks before I
No.
talk to you?
She
had
had
already
drank.
Oh,
said
okay,
She had already
okay,
drank.
Oh no, I immediately called
She had
that
already
number
drank.
back.
Okay.
It went back to her voicemail, so I was just like, hi, this is Alexa Ross, returning your call. My apologies for missing it. Just give me a call at your earliest convenience. Thanks.
That's almost better that happened too, because you were calling out of initial excitement, and so not that you would have been like bad on the phone, but it's like cool that you had time to think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like leave a voicemail.
Yeah, I could kind of, process it.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe like half an hour passes and she calls me back. And she just congratulated me. And she was just like, congratulations. And I just, like, my mind just, like, blanked. Like,
Did you cry?
Yeah. I don't remember. And I cry a lot. You'll learn this.
That's a big moment, though.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. And, like, my mind just blanked. And when I, like, jumped back into the conversation was when she was like, do you have a valid passport? And I was like, oh, shit.
You
I'm
didn't?
traveling. No, I did, but it was like, oh, shit, like, I'm actually
this
going.
is gonna
like,
happen.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to Stanford. Like, I'm going to South Korea.
That's the thing, yeah. These jobs, like, and not to interrupt because this is a big moment,
go ahead.
but like these jobs, like they're like, yeah, we'll get back to you in 3 months. So during those 3 months, you're not just like, oh, I hope this will go through. Like, you're making other plans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in your mind, it's not like I'm going to Korea. Like, you're not thinking that the whole time. But then, boom, one day, that's when it comes in. Like, I'm going to Korea. The trajectory of my life is about to change. Like, based off of that.
Big
so
time.
I get it with when and it's just it's a media job thing. Like the voicemail, the call from an area that you don't know, and I always screen that stuff too. But they're like, hey, we're just calling you about the application. You're like,
You're like,
oh
let me
my God.
immediately call you
You
back.
drop everything. You tell everybody, yo, shut up. I'm going over here. Like, I totally get that.
I'm leaving. See you never. Bye.
Yeah,
But that's pretty
exactly.
much how it was. And so I walked back over to everybody on the beach, and I just like looked stunned, and they were like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I got it." And they were like, "You got what?" And I was like, "I'm going to Korea." And they were like, "No way!" And like they knew before my immediate family did, and that's why they're my family, because like
Yeah.
of course I was with them for this moment.
Mm.
And I called my mom because I was like going to meet up with them in
Yeah.
like an hour, if that. I was like, "Mom, I have to tell you something." I'm like hyperventilating. I told her, she cried. She gave the
Awesome.
phone to my dad. He didn't cry because he doesn't do that. He's pretty
It's like, I'm proud of you.
yeah, pretty much.
Good job.
Yeah, it
You
was
did great. I knew you could do it.
yeah,
Girl.
yeah, pretty much. That was I got a very dad response, but I could tell he was excited.
Cool.
So wait, how did the rest of your day go?
So I just was like, oh my God, like all day I was just like, this isn't real. And then she sent me the offer letter, and so I essentially had to like sign my offer letter and send it back, and she was like, okay, so thanks. You can't talk about this until November, or until we tell you you can. Like, you cannot announce that you're going yet.
Oh.
And
Why is
I was
that?
like, it's just like company policy, I guess. And so, which was fine. I was like, you know what, whatever. I called my couple friends that knew, like all my TV friends knew, the media professors knew, my immediate and extended family knew. But I was like, you guys cannot post anything anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot.
That would cap
say-
you.
Yeah, they would
immediately.
find you.
Yeah, exactly. No, they really would. And so it was just very like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And then I could finally announce it, and that was when it was like, and it had already been like 2 months since I had known, so I was just kind of sitting on it and
Yeah.
like letting it like ruminate and things like that. And then I like posted my Facebook post and like my Instagram, and like was just like, hey guys, like I have a picture of me sitting on the Olympic rings
Awesome.
in London. So I posted one of those pictures, and I was like, my Olympic journey doesn't end here, like one of those
So
like
cool.
corny Instagram moments that you have to have, but you take advantage of it because it works. But
Yeah, of course.
but people would just ask me like, or be like, congrats, like, are you excited? And I'm like, excited for what? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, Korea, haha, because like that's not what I've been thinking about. Like, I had it, I was accepted, I just kind of had to sit on it
Yeah.
and like wait to
Yep.
hear things.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand. Like, these jobs that like TV and media places offer, like sometimes you're sitting on that egg for like 4 or 5 months before it hatches, and it's just like you're waiting and waiting and waiting, but it happen. And I'm telling you, I know what that feeling is like when you get the phone call and you see it on your phone and you just want to like, you want to dance. Like you just want to jump up. You're like, yes, like this is real. This is really happening.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
So, you know, ton of prep, a ton of just kind of figuring out, talking to professors, trying to make it work, figuring out if I was going to do a full load and tell a bunch of professors that I couldn't do it or just going part-time. I ended up going part-time. But just like a lot of packing. I was like, I've done the abroad thing before. I know how to pack for this. I did not know how to pack for this. I was like, I don't know how to dress for.
And how long was this?
I was there from February 2nd to February 26th.
Oh, wow. So like a whole month.
I was gone a whole month. Yeah. So we took a chartered flight. So I had a flight paid for from Philadelphia to JFK, which was terrible. I don't know why I had to take that flight. I mean, it was paid for, but I sat in JFK for maybe 5 hours and made one friend until more people showed up. Great times.
My objective wouldn't even be able to make friends. Like my objective is like to fall asleep somewhere.
I
So
really
good
tried.
for you.
Yeah,
It was
enough.
terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
traveling's awful. Especially long travel.
oh yeah,
How many hours was this flight?
16
16.
from
Okay,
JFK
yeah.
Makes sense.
to Yang Yang.
Please don't tell me that you got the middle seat.
No, so because it was a charter, we each got a couple seats to ourselves. Like I had a whole
perfect.
like 3-person row to myself. People who were in the middle of 4 would get 2 seats,
That's
and
huge.
if you were on the side, you got 3. And I was the very last row of the plane with all the interns. We had a really nice time.
Yeah, so you traveled with people.
Yes, so
Okay.
I traveled with NBC Sports employees, interns, people who were coming from the East Coast. Essentially, all flew out chartered by JFK.
Now let me ask you this: did you meet anyone noteworthy, like on that flight?
No, I made friends. That was
Okay,
really
but
it.
no one that was well known, famous.
No.
I'm
Okay.
curious though, for this program, how many other interns besides yourself?
So there were 54 who traveled, including myself, who traveled to Korea. And we
Wow.
all had different assignments.
Do you know what
then-
the pool was that you were selected from, as
A
far
lot.
as like complete applicants? I'm guessing it was
A
a
lot.
ton. Yeah.
And like a lot of schools, like Syracuse, Ithaca, all these schools that have like big time media programs, Northwestern, they all like essentially encourage all their students to apply. Like they'll have an NBC recruiter come out and like, so like their whole programs apply. Like half the people I met went to Syracuse, which I realized I was pretty glad that I didn't go there because I did not fit with the Syracuse crowd.
Really? What was the Syracuse crowd like?
It's just when you go somewhere that's like very big name, you know what I mean? Like you can have a little bit of an ego, and that's not to be said for all of them because I met a ton of really great people who did go to Syracuse and from these places. Like I love the people from Northwestern. Everybody I met at Northwestern I adored. My roommate went to USC. One of my 2 roommates.
It's also no stretch to say that media students can be a bit pretentious. I feel like a lot of them
Oh,
are just
yeah.
like, I'm gonna have my own talk show. Like I am the center of attention always, and it's like, all right, man, like you can turn it down just a little bit, right?
I was the only person from Temple. Half the people hadn't heard of Temple.
Yeah.
Like we had an intern. We can break with this. So we had an intern dinner one of the first few nights we were there, and like Tarico emceed it and like talked about it, and he was like, "Where is everyone from?" Or he read all the schools where people had come from, and there weren't that many. And then Temple's on like the bottom of the list because I'm one person and that's a T. And I was like, "Go Owls!"
You should have said,
Everyone's
poster
like-
child.
Everyone's like, did you hear something?
No, it was, and then I did it, and I was like, I should not have done that. I was like, I went bright red. I like sunk into my seat. My roommate
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
"You're a mess," and I was just like, "Nobody speak to me ever again."
Is it like deafening silence? Is that why?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
terrible.
okay.
What was the Syracuse where they just like they made exactly. It
you
was
know.
like a whole stadium going
Yeah,
on.
and then there was me yelling "Go Owls," which is the only thing I know how to say.
Sound like the dude on SpongeBob. My leg.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue.
That was me.
That's awesome.
But so we flew over. I made a bunch of friends. You know, 16 hours, and I've never been more uncomfortable in my life. Just because you you sit for that long, and
Really?
you just like don't know how to. I literally spent a whole day on a plane.
Well, I was gonna say, how did you spend that day? Were you watching movies? Did
Watching
you bring a
movies,
book?
listening to podcasts.
Okay, what were you listening to?
I was listening to some murder true crime podcasts. I was listening to some comedy podcasts.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to a couple episodes of this.
Really?
Yeah, because we had talked about it by then.
Was that really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was that recent.
Yeah.
Cool.
Crazy.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
excellent.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Shout out.
That's awesome. Oh, thank you.
But
That's what you do.
yeah, and then I tried to sleep, and I did successfully sleep for good chunk of time. Not as much as I would have liked to have slept. I should have taken a sleeping aid, probably. Did not do that because I was like, I don't want to be like disoriented when we land. And we landed at night. So it was like 8 o'clock at night or so when we landed.
So were you like the
it was dark.
Grinch? Like the Grinch when you woke up?
We were all just like, where are
got
we?
out, I guess.
We were just like, what is going on? And like, so our whole like group of friends, like we all had tags on our bags for where we were staying. And most of the interns stayed in Ganyang Media Village. And so Media Village was like these big high-rise apartment buildings that they eventually, well, I'm sure now they're like residential apartment buildings. They're like 25 stories high and just like people just like it was just like all of the broadcasters, all of the people who are talent that like weren't like too big talent, like local affiliates who were sending people out, and like most of the interns, unless you were working in the Alpine, and if you're working up in the Alpine, up in the mountains for like snowboard and stuff, you stayed at a hotel because that was like an hour and a half away. So we got to Media Village. I was the first one in my bedroom. I was like, this is pretty sick, actually. Couldn't turn the lights on because I can't read Korean. I got there and I was like, well, because I was sitting on the bus and everybody's like, oh, like, what's your room number? Like, where are you staying? Like, and nobody was in my room, and I was like, maybe I have my own room. Didn't have my own room. I had 2 roommates who are lovely and beautiful. And
that's cool. That's always a good plus, right?
I got so lucky, but I get up there and I'm bedroom 3. So I assume I'm sharing a bathroom, which is fine. I didn't expect to not share a bathroom. But I did have my own space. So I wheeled my stuff in. I just like sat on the couch. It was like kind of like an IKEA couch is kind of how I feel about it. It was like a very like low budget IKEA couch. And I just sat there and I'm like, holy shit, I'm here.
Yeah.
You have to build it yourself though, right?
No. No. It was pre-structured for me, thankfully. Our couch did break twice.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Right.
My roommate sat on it both times, and she is like a thin, like very fit former college soccer player.
Okay.
And it could have been any of us, but it had to be her. Like, she sat on the couch and the light gave out, and we thought it was the funniest. Like, I don't think I've laughed that hard in so long, but because she's not.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
She's very like normally sized, and she just like sat down and it just like it went out underneath her. But then she walked into the room as I'm just kind of taking everything in.
Yeah.
And she's all frazzled, and she's on the phone with somebody, and I was like, dear God, who is this? And it was my roommate, Sydney, who is an employee for NBC Golf. She's, like, in her early to mid-20s.
Wow.
So the golf crew, because they weren't on a golf swing, were all, like, hired to work at the Olympics. So, like, she got to do that and then essentially go right to a golf tournament from Korea.
Pretty dope.
Yeah, she went from, like, very cold to, like, the tropics somewhere.
That's cool.
But she was great. And then my other roommate came in, who was the rising senior at USC, Katie. Sydney's very much like me, very outgoing, very had a lot of connections, makes friends really easily, especially because a lot of her coworkers were there. We, like, became friends with her coworkers as well. And then Katie's more, like, quiet and reserved, but, like, she's just, like, the sweetest thing. And we got really lucky because we all worked near each other. So I was assigned to ice hockey. So I only worked in ice hockey. And I worked 16 hours a day, every day that there were 3 games.
Hold on, 16 hours a day.
8 a.m. to midnight.
This is Monday through Friday?
This is whenever there were 3 game days. Like, I would work, like, days and days and days. My last 3 game day, I got food poisoning, or the day before, and I didn't go in for my last 16-hour day.
Whoa.
Wow.
Because I was like...
What'd you eat?
I don't even know. I don't even think it was food. It was probably a mix of, like, dehydration, exhaustion because I wasn't sleeping, like, all of that just, like, compounded on my body, and, like, I was just, like, I tapped.
So your was it because of the jet lag that you weren't sleeping,
No.
or the nerves,
I think it was
what?
I was just working such long hours. Like, I would get home, fall asleep, and then have to, like, or I'd have to shower when I got home or shower when I wake up. So, like, and we still have to commute, like, half an hour by bus.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're getting like 5 hours probably.
I'm not, like, going through full REM cycles. Like, it's just, like, you know, so, like, things like that. And, like, I've never worked, like, such hard, grueling hours. I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Of course.
Like, my roommates worked in speed skating, and they worked maybe, like, 2 p.m. to, like, 10 every day, and could, like, go out and stuff. And I was like, peace, have fun. Like, see ya, have a nice life. I'm not doing that.
Well, you're really into hockey, right?
Oh yeah, I had a great
So, I
time.
mean-
I watched over 1,440 minutes of regulation hockey. So yeah, and I had to take a break. I came home and I couldn't watch hockey, but it was just very it was cool because everybody who worked there was with NHL and NBC and things like that. So they were all big time people, and then the talent were people like Brian Boucher and Kenny Albert and Jeremy Roenick and people who old Flyers players. So when they found out I was from Philly, they were all in on that.
That's awesome.
And so
Really, you just had a sense of camaraderie based
yeah,
off of
they
that?
were yeah, Philly, haha. And that Philly camaraderie really came out after the Super Bowl because I was in Korea for the Super Bowl. And being a big time Eagles fan, that I actively rooted against the Eagles to not go to the Super Bowl because I didn't want to miss it.
Right, how selfish of you.
I know, God forbid.
You were already in South Korea and you wouldn't let us have that.
You guys had it. It was
Yeah,
fine.
thank God we had it. But
Yeah.
But that was the day after the intern dinner.
you cried for that, right?
Oh, I cried.
There was a whole
on,
segment.
I cried
She was
on,
on the news.
I cried on 5 different local affiliates.
Wait, what?
Okay, so NBC hosted a watch center for the watch party for the Olympics, but a lot of people took that from local affiliates were oh, this is a cool story. We can see how our people are reacting to the game. So I was I'm not wearing a jersey. That's obnoxious. I have my intern orientation later. That's
Wait,
terrible.
You didn't even bring it, right?
No, I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I wore a long sleeve Fly Eagles Fly hunter green shirt. Very fine. I was just going to put a sweater on over it. Wasn't a big deal. The game started at 9 a.m. So I got there and just kind of hung out and ate some breakfast, which was weird. I was eating scrambled eggs and
As you're watching them play in the Super Bowl.
as I'm getting ready to watch them play in the Super Bowl, and I was sitting next to one of my coworkers who was a Patriots fan, and because NBC's in Connecticut, there was a lot more people openly in Patriots gear than there were here. And Mike Tirico walked up to me and my coworker, seeing us in green and navy, and says, "Is anybody sitting here?" And I was like, "No." No one is
You're like,
sitting
why?
Yeah, I was like, why do you want to be near me? But so he sat down next to us, and he just kind of struck up conversation because my coworker went to Syracuse, and Tarico's a Syracuse grad, so they talked about that. And he was like, "Well, what about you? Where did you go to school?" And I said, "Temple University." And he was like, "Oh, you were the one who shouted out Temple last night." And I was like, Jesus Christ, I am such an embarrassment. And I laughed and played it off, and I was like, haha, yeah, that was me, haha, whatever. And then somebody in front of me turned around because it was kind of seated lecture hall
I
table with the projector in front is kind of how they arranged it so everybody could see the screen. And I was in the second row of tables, and this guy was in the front. He turns around and he goes, "Temple University." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Rich Lerner," sticks out his hand, and I was like, "You are honored with the Lou Klein Award." And he was like, "You know your stuff."
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Yeah, man." And then we would just kind of bond. Anytime the Eagles did anything, he'd turn around and high-five me, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
So I guess going to Temple really worked in your favor.
oh yeah, because I was unique. And
But
so
even just watching this game is helping you make connections. That's awesome.
yeah, I was just sitting there and I had to remove myself from the situation at one point. I was just so nervous that I would just I was drinking ginger ale and just shaking, holding bottles of ginger ale, and I stopped eating because I was nauseous, and I was just
Right.
I was like, there's so much at stake and on the line for me right now.
You can't throw up in front of these people.
But also if the Eagles lose, I'm the intern who cheered for the Eagles. And if the Eagles win, I'm the intern who cheered for the Eagles. And so local affiliates, there was a local affiliate from DC, from Boston, from Philly, who were just doing interviews and stuff, and they mic'd us up to watch the game and got B-roll and stuff. And when they eventually won, as the clock was winding down, I fell to my knees and cried. I just collapsed under myself and cried. And Mike Tirico stood up and pointed at me and said, "That's love, baby. This is why we do this." And I was like, this is the most
Perfect.
embarrassing moment of my life.
That is perfect.
Then Keith Jones from NBC 10 comes up to me and he goes, "How are you feeling?" And I was like, "Nick Foles beat Tom Brady. The Eagles are Super Bowl champions." I'm sobbing. I'm literally hysterical. He submits the package for the news. Everyone I know sees it and Facebook messages me or texts me, and I'm just like, okay. So I emailed Keith and I was like, "Hey Keith, really great talking to you today or yesterday. Do you mind sending me the clip?" And so I just posted that clip everywhere. I was like, meanwhile, in Korea, this was happening. Most of you have already seen this. And
That's too perfect.
I just like posted it. Everybody was like, this is so on brand. This is so you. Da-da-da. Like, you're so cute. And I'm like, ugh.
Did you get any random, like, people reaching out to you? Just, you didn't know
people recognized me. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, you were that girl. And I was like, yeah, it was me. Like, I did do that. But that was, I think watching the Super Bowl was like one of my, like, Olympic, everybody says you'll have like an Olympic moment that's gonna like capture you forever, and I think the Super Bowl was my first Olympic moment.
That's really strange since it really has nothing to do with the Olympics.
Exactly,
but that's still really cool.
They usually
You're
don't.
unique in more ways than just being the only Temple student. Your memory is also unique.
Yeah, like I have a very unique, like people were like, da-da-da, the riots down Broad Street, and I'm like, you know what, like I wasn't there and that's okay. Like I had this very special thing that I shared with like people who don't really know me, and I mean, my whole family was not together for the Super Bowl. And, like, we're a big football family. So, like, of course, the one Super Bowl we should be together for. We're not.
Of course.
My dad was in Minnesota. My sister was on a bus streaming it, driving home from Vermont from a ski trip. My mom was home. And I was in Korea. So I tried to call my dad. There's no service. And because that was my first thing. I was like, I have to call my dad. Call didn't go through. Probably because there was a million things going on in that stadium, in that arena, so I can't even blame him. And then
he was there.
Mom. Yeah, my dad was there with my uncle. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, my dad and my uncle went.
Kidding
my dad
me?
went to the last Super Bowl the Eagles were in as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Your family is so cool.
I want to know how your dad reacted. Yeah, he sounds like a very stoic guy.
Did he cry? Did he cry like
He
you?
did not cry, but he was like super excited. I mean, I think the first time he went to Super Bowl, it really crushed him. Like it was very much.
Oh yeah,
like,
you talking about McNabb?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think that was when he was like, I can't let these games dictate my mood anymore because like I saw the ultimate loss and like that's fine, and I just have to live with it. So then, I mean, he was obviously like thrilled.
I mean, it made for the perfect story.
Yeah.
You know, it's our second Super Bowl. It's going against the same team that beat us prior.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest QBs ever, ever to play the game.
Playing
And
a
then there's-
backup.
Yeah, and then playing backup Nick Foles, who was already a Philly legend. Now he's coming back to finish the job after our like savior Carson Wentz is hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, like that.
This
that
was
whole
it. This was a story. It was a storybook. It was like not real. This whole last football season was not real, and I think this football season will also be not real. I'm gonna say it now. The Jets and the Browns are gonna go off, and you can give me as much hate.
No.
that.
I'm not giving you any hate because I agree with you. Because after watching that game yesterday, they just played. Who'd they play? Oh, don't tell me. They played.
It's team.
Is it Raiders? They
No,
played
it was
Raiders?
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay,
Played
yeah.
Lions.
Okay,
The
so they
later
played
game was the
Detroit,
West Coast game.
which Matt Stafford had a very good season last year, and I
And
expected.
he just fell apart.
his-
He crumbled.
What was it, like 38-12, something like that? Some ridiculous score.
It was like
where,
38. It was like no, it was like 48-17.
and most of them were pick sixes.
Well, the first throw that Sam Darnold made was a pick six.
Yeah, which
Which was-
everyone was like, "Oh my God, here we go again."
Yeah, it was like, oh, the Jets, classic. And then they
Yeah.
put up almost 100 points.
Yeah, where did this defense come from?
I don't know, but I love it and I'm thrilled. And I'm like officially a Jets fan. Like I'm in on the Jets. But,
I'm really excited to see how the Browns do too.
they played so much
I
better
mean,
than anyone expected.
yeah.
Listen, they didn't lose. They tied.
Exactly,
That's
the
cool.
Steelers, who, is one of the best teams in football historically.
Not this season, but
Well, we'll see. I mean, the whole Le'Veon Bell controversy is definitely going to make their season interesting.
yeah, it was some good karma for some of the people in my fantasy league who
Right.
were trying to rig picks and got
Ooh,
Le'Veon Bell. And
uh-oh. Now, that sounds like cheating to me.
yeah, you could say that. I won't call anybody out, but if they listen, they'll know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Super Bowl was great. I mean, I worked all the time. Like I was working very consistently. Like
Sounds like
I
it.
would eat 3 meals a day via NBC Catering. Thanks NBC Catering for keeping me fed and alive. Like
So was this like good quality food? This wasn't
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Sodexo, right?
no, it was like good quality food, and they ordered a bunch of stuff in bulk. Like they would have like for like salt and pepper or like olive oil. Like it would be Kirkland's brand. So I was like, oh my god, they got their stuff from Costco. So that was like a fun little like connection to home for me.
Right. Did you write a story about it?
No, I wish.
Was there any
It's not
culture
too late.
shock, like when you were eating the food, where you like,
Yeah.
yo, I don't dig this? Like, how are you feeling?
Korean barbecue was probably like one of my favorite things I've
Oh,
ever
it's
done.
awesome. So good.
Wait, so is this the same kind of barbecue like in Japan where they like cook? You probably know better than I
Yeah.
do. Where they like, just cook the meat. You order the meat and you cook it yourself.
It's the same thing. It's just kind of they season things differently and they serve with different things. And so like anytime I had a night off or like didn't have to work super late or had like a morning off, like I would go get lunch or dinner at like at a Korean spot. Like I would go for barbecue or something like that. Like I made it a point to be like, hey, I'm doing this. Like I need to do this because I want to experience the culture because I am in an ice rink for most of my life, which is fine.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Like, how much other stuff did you do?
I didn't. So my roommates got to go to Seoul because they had a day off, and I'm very jealous that they got to do that. I gave them $50, and I said, buy me whatever you can in skincare because Korean skincare is like a very big thing amongst
and it
American
works.
women. Oh yeah, it's like very, very like very good and like very high quality and things like that. And they got me like 6 things for like $50 American, so that was cool.
Nice.
Are those like those? Do the Koreans have those like face masks, jelly
like
thing?
Yeah.
It has like a scent.
Yeah. They do the sheet masks and the bubble masks and things like that. They do all that cool
Okay.
stuff. So
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I did that once. Becca actually gave me.
of course she did.
Yeah. So like Becca, for those of you who don't know, Becca's one of our mutual friends, and she's awesome. She really takes care of her guests. And I came over the one day, and she just, was like, Ryan, like you gotta try my bubble bath, and you gotta try my skin mask. Like it's amazing. You're gonna love it. And I was down, so I got the bubble bath. It was one of those bath bombs. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Bath bombs where you
It's
put
a
it in
bath bomb.
and it changed. Okay, so this is all new to me. Maybe it's new to you, or maybe you're like, oh God,
Dude, I haven't
Ryan,
taken a
that's
bath
normal.
since I was 8. I've been showering my whole life. Pretty much.
Yeah, but like I tried the bath bomb, and she gave me this mask that I'm assuming we're both talking about. And dude, seriously, I've never had a softer face. It was to die for.
No, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that was kind of it, and like, I made a lot of really awesome friends. I met a lot of really cool people, like who were in like foreign or otherwise, or like other interns, or just like you make a ton of connections, and like it's super cool. But like I think just being there and just like looking around and being like, oh my God, like I'm here is really kind of incredible. Like my roommates and I all had off the morning of Valentine's Day, and my one roommate is in a very long-term committed serious relationship, and so she was very upset to not be spending it with her significant other, and so we were like,
Could
you know
FaceTime,
what?
but he's got to be up super
Yeah,
super
like
late.
the times just like don't work. Like it's either gonna be very late night for someone or very early
I was
morning
gonna say
for the
someone's
other.
gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not gonna be good. So we saw that pairs figure skating was on, and figure skating is such like a pinnacle Winter Olympics event.
It's also really big in Asia, huge.
Yeah.
Really?
In Korea, Japan, China.
Oh yeah, there
huge.
were like infinitely more Asian teams than there were.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. It's for
It's
me.
just a cultural thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's big, especially in Japan. There's an anime that just came out about it.
No way.
It's huge.
What is it like?
That's
Is it
really cool.
is it classic anime where like they're doing their moves and they're thinking, it's like they're having a dialogue in their head?
I haven't watched it, but from what I can tell, it's a little bit like that. It's like a protagonist in amateur skating trying to make his way to Olympics. Like that's what it is.
That's
Okay.
sick.
Figure
sounds pretty
skating.
fun,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's animated really well. But yeah, go on. So yeah, you watch figure skating on
so
Valentine's Day.
You can essentially, if you are in media, there are like certain sections that are like media tickets. So like you don't have to get a ticket, but like you can show your credential and go in and like sit and watch an event and like not pay for a ticket unless it's a high demand event. And the only high demand event in the Winter Olympics is figure skating. Every figure skating event was high demand. So we were like, you know what? I'll shell out $60 to see this. Why not? When am I ever going to see figure skating live like this again?
We're here.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
do it.
here.
We're
Let's do
here.
it. And so, because like we didn't shell out to do opening or closing ceremonies. Well, I was working during closing, like tearing down during closing ceremonies, but I could have gone to opening ceremonies, but I was like, I don't know. We ended up just like watching it in our apartment on the Korean
you disappointed?
broadcast. In the moment I was, but later I wasn't, because like everyone who worked for speed skating and ice hockey like came together and watched it, and it was like a cool bonding moment. Like we got like booze and like got food and just like sat and like watched opening ceremonies, which was cool. Like it was different.
That was crazy just to see the Russians come out in the the Olympic flag, not their flag, because they weren't allowed to compete as Russia, right?
The Olympic athletes from Russia, yeah. So because of the doping scandals, they were unable to compete under the flag. Like they could still compete, but they weren't competing for Russia, and they weren't able to like use their flag or their anthem.
Alexa, do me a favor,
So-
just get a little bit closer to the mic.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, you're cool. No, you don't have to like be on it, but just like talk in the direction of the
Yeah.
mic. You're cool.
So
Was that a big controversy while you were there?
yeah. And a lot of people were talking about it and things like that, and like everybody was really talking about the difference between like how like they were playing a couple of the sports were Team Korea and they were playing together. North and South Korea like came
Oh,
together
yeah, I
and
saw
had
that
teams.
too.
So like the women's ice hockey team was one of them. There were a couple pairs in figure skating who were like that. But Russia, the men's team for Russia ended up winning the gold. They beat
For hockey?
for men's ice hockey.
For men's ice hockey. Okay.
So to see the Olympic flag being raised and to hear the Olympic anthem and all of the Russian fans singing their national anthem over the Olympic anthem is unlike anything I have ever heard in my entire life. I looked at Kenny Albert and he was like, this is ridiculous. This is craziness. I've never seen anything like this. And he was right. I mean, it was just like, it was absolutely absurd. And that,
Absurd in what way?
it was just like, it just seemed like it was just something out of a movie. Like, it was just like, it didn't seem real. And that was how that day went. The Russia-US game was another high demand event. So like I got to work that game, which was super cool. I actually got to work it in the truck. So I got to watch it from like every camera angle and like see how they directed the show for the medal broadcast.
Technical director doing the
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So what, were you choosing the angles that were
I
used
wasn't,
for
but
TV?
yeah, but I was just kind of like doing like various like production things within the truck.
Yeah, that's what the TD does. He has like a switcher, and he's just taking shots that go to the program. So there's program and preview on a switcher. Preview will show you like what you can toggle up that people will see on TV to program. So like there's a button assigned for every camera angle. So camera 1 will be a button, camera 2 will be a button, and like that guy's in charge of deciding what shots
That's
go
pretty
on
cool.
for people to see.
Yeah, so I got to watch the women's gold medal game from. I got to
Every
see
angle.
those. I got to see that shootout, and the Lamoureux goals, on like 6 different cameras, and that was so cool. And then
Awesome.
them just like storming the ice and all that. Like I say this all the time, and I'm like kind of kidding, but I'm really not. Like that is the most patriotic I have ever felt in my entire life.
Yeah.
Was watching these women win this game and beat Canada because it's such a long-standing rivalry. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Canada's won the gold and the U.S. has won the silver every year for the past however many Olympics, like since they started doing women's ice hockey in 1998 in Nagano, and then they didn't, like, they haven't won, and this was like their first time like winning a gold. And that night I went, because it was my first like day that I had one game in forever. My roommate and I went out. We met up with some Golf Channel people, and every country has a house. And so like the houses that are like the US house and the Canada house are, like you have to pay a ton of money to get into, you have to be an athlete, you need to be a family member to get into, and there are also ones like the Netherlands house, which is the Heineken house, and things like that that are
Whoa.
bars. And so the Czech house was right in between where we lived and the athletes village for the athletes who were in ice sports. And so we were like, let's go out. Why not? The first person I saw when I walked in was Adam Rapon, who's like a pop culture phenomenon now, and he's a figure skater. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. And so, but like I'm in my NBC jacket, like, you know, you have to be cool and whatever, but like there were a ton of athletes there, like there were a ton of people there. And then the women's team walks in with their gold medals around their necks.
Cool.
And like get pulled up on like a stage, and the MC plays like "We Are the Champions" and everybody sings along, and it was just like that was another Olympic moment for me. I was
Awesome.
like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Did they do that for everyone that won the gold?
No, I think it was just like because the whole team showed up, they were like, let's celebrate
Spur
for
of the
them.
moment,
Yeah, I feel like it was very spur of the moment, but it was very cool. And then afterwards, everybody went to this bar, which is called Cafe Nuts. I'm not making this up.
Cafe Nuts?
Yeah, it's a real place, Cafe Nuts.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm serious. Cafe Nuts.
Yeah, go
and,
on.
Yeah, it's a great place. But there was like an outside part and an inside part. And so I walked over there, and there was a bunch of the women's team outside, and there's no music outside. And I was like, ha 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 ha, I'm going to leave. This is uncomfortable for me. Like, I'm not going to intermingle because I feel
So it was just
You were just
and them?
intimidated?
Yeah, pretty much. I was just super intimidated.
I would've
but
been
like
intimidated,
a
yeah.
girl who I was talking to, who was on the team, who was like on like the third line, she was like, I don't deserve this medal. And I was like, yes, you do. You're here. Like, you totally deserve this
She
medal.
said that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
She was like, I didn't play those minutes. I didn't win in that shootout. And I was like, it doesn't matter. You won.
I feel like that's a mentality a lot of athletes have, though, because they want to be in the spotlight. They want to be the one contributing
Well, she's
to the
also
team.
21 years old. Like, she's a college ice hockey player.
Playing
what I'm
in the
saying.
Olympics.
The
Yeah,
Made it
Olympics.
to the Olympics. Like
She and
you
I were
deserve
very
it.
much in the same boat. And, like, we were just kind of talking. And then a guy from the men's team walks out with buckets of beer and just, like, hands them out to people. And he hands me one. I was like, oh, no, thank you. Like he was like, for my champions. Like, it was really cute. And he hands me one, and I was like, oh, like, I didn't win anything, haha. And he was like, you're a champion tonight. Like, throws this beer
Tonight
at me.
you're a winner.
And I know, I was like, thank you so much. But I ended up singing karaoke with
There
the
you
women's
go.
gold medal team.
How many
out
beers
there.
did you
that's
have before
awesome.
you?
Participated in
Yeah.
such events? Not that many.
This sounds
no.
like a dream. Like
No,
a
it
dream
was
come
like
true.
the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. It was so cool. But that's probably my favorite, like, Olympic, like, intermingling
Yeah.
story. Like, that was super cool.
You had some like camaraderie with the women's team, like, and you sung karaoke with them. That's who can say that they did that.
It was so cool.
Who can say they did
It was
that?
super cool. I mean, like, and it was really incredible. And, like, I could talk about this for hours, and I know that people are probably stopped listening because I'm still talking about the Olympics. So we can.
I mean, it's an interesting topic.
I was.
I mean, did you ever intermingle any other times other than this?
You know, you'd go out and you'd see people out, and, like, sometimes you'd talk, and sometimes you wouldn't, and sometimes you'd introduce yourself, and sometimes they'd see your credential and just be like, oh, where are you working? Like, whatever. Tinder's a big thing there. So
Really?
oh, yeah. Tinder's a very big thing there. So people,
Just every Olympics.
every Olympics, like, that's always, like, a very big thing, is, like, it's the most fit, attractive people in the world.
Oh, it
who
makes
can't-
sense.
Who don't normally have the time to have these kinds of relationships, who are then all thrust together,
Right.
pun completely intended, and yeah. And
So everyone's just trying to get lucky? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, so we just kind of, you know, we would troll and, like, see people and stuff, and I actually found somebody that I met when I was in London, when I studied in London. I met this guy at a bar one night, and, like, it was very, like, casual, you know, we just kind of talked and then, like, never spoke again, never exchanged information, nothing. But he's a really very distinct sleeve. So we're just, like, swiping on Tinder, you know, having a good old time and not really caring about anything. And I see this guy. I see his tattoo. I was like, there's no way.
That this dude's in Korea.
I know. I was like, what is this dude?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this dude?
I would have been scared.
Yeah, he's like, I followed you. I love you.
I wish. No, I was like, this man who is in the British Army is here right now, and
British
I just
Army?
don't get it. I was like, okay.
So wait, hold on, backtrack. Like, if he's only in the British Army, or was he also a reporter or something along those lines?
He was competing
Doing what?
bobsled.
Okay.
So that was the
Ah,
bobsled.
so that's why you're
so
to
that's
the bobsled. I
that
see.
that's why I went to the event, because I knew someone racing.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
okay.
But yeah, no. So we just, like, you know, we grabbed drinks a couple times, and, like,
Yeah.
he, like, would come hang out with me and my roommates before he had to start training and stuff, and, like, that was super cool because it was just like we were friends, like, we hung out every day, and, like, it was awesome, and it was just like, he's a person and I'm a person, and he just happens to be competing for an Olympic medal, and I just happen to be working, and, like, it was just really cool. Like, it was
Yeah.
just like, in what world does that happen? Everybody was like, oh my gosh,
Your
it's
world,
your
apparently.
fairy tale. Da-da-da. And I
That
was
is
like,
a huge chance encounter, though. Like,
Yeah.
I would have been boggled if I saw that.
I
I'm
was-
bamboozled.
I was absolutely floored. I had nothing to say. I was just like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm working. He goes, I'm competing.
You
And I was
think
like,
that would have came up the first time you met him, though? Like, yeah, bobsled. It's not really a big deal.
So the British Army has, like, a bobsled team, and
Okay.
so they essentially are the team that competes for Great Britain in the
yeah.
in the Olympics, and so
And you had no idea prior
no,
that he did this.
I had no idea he bobsledded. I just knew he was in the parachute battalion, and that he was in the army, and that he
Crazy, man.
had some sick tattoos and was a cool guy.
Right.
That is wild.
Yeah, but that was fun. So that was a cool thing that happened.
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask you a question about Korean people. When you were watching the figure skating with obviously Koreans in the audience, did you make any observations about how they reacted and rooted differently than American fans?
Yeah, very much more quiet. Very much like golf claps and
Yeah.
things like that. Much more like contained, which I know is like an Eastern. It's just kind of like an Eastern way of life.
I had a similar experience. That's why I was asking you that. I
Yeah.
wanted to see if Koreans were similar. When I went to Japan my first time in 2012, I went to the World Taekwondo Championship
So that's
tournament.
cool,
Yeah, and I kind of bought a ticket and just went. And
as you should.
yeah, of course, right? And I know as a martial art practitioner myself, and I'm just really into martial arts in general. And when I went, I remember it was a stadium, and It was just full of people, just absolutely full. There wasn't an empty seat. Like I was one of the last seats to get in. Definitely the only white person there. And it was completely full. And there was just like a very tiny little mat where people would do Taekwondo. And while they were fighting, nobody in the audience was saying anything. Like all you heard was like fighting sounds,
Yeah.
like people, and nobody was going, yeah, because it would be like
In
Korea
America.
versus Japan.
Yeah.
Nobody was cheering. Everybody was watching, serious face. And then when the Japanese person won or he got a point, people would clap, no smiles. And then once the next round started, everybody stopped clapping.
Yeah.
And it was completely silent. All you heard was people fighting. Like it was nuts. And there must have been like, I don't know, like 800 people there. And it was, you could hear a pin drop. It was crazy.
I think the biggest like distinction I saw that is when I worked the U.S.-Russia game. So the U.S.-Russia game was, which I kind of started talking about, then started talking about the women's gold medal game, which is fine. But it was like a ton of Russian fans, a ton of American fans, mostly family of the team, other athletes who came, and Korean people. And like people for the U.S. were wearing like Statue of Liberty costumes and like dressing
Wow.
up in colors. Russians were holding up flags and like painting their faces, dressed up like nesting dolls, and the Korean people were just there and quiet.
That's
and
so
just
interesting.
There,
Yeah.
and like a ton of interns and like workers like came to watch this game because this was like a big like high stakes game. Except we lost, which is fine. We do believe in miracles, but they don't happen all the time, and it's okay. And but like to see the Russia fans just like going at it and like being so loud and aggressive, and American fans, as we know how everybody reacts, especially in ice hockey, and then just to see the Koreans just like
Yeah.
like very like stoic. It was just like, and it wasn't even because it was like not their team, because I saw that when like Korean couples would figure skate, like it was the same thing. Everybody was just so stoic, like it was, which is fine, obviously, but it was just like, it was very different to see. And I think that's where my biggest culture shock came. Obviously, I was surrounded by Americans and Europeans a lot of the time. We were next to like the Eurosport broadcasters, where Kimmo Timonen, who used to be a Flyer, was there, and I accidentally stepped on him. I was like backing out of a studio, and I like stepped on his foot, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then I like saw that it was him, and I saw his credential, and I was like, "Oh my god."
Did he react in any type of way?
He laughed and said, "It's okay," in his thick accent. "It's okay. I've taken harder hits than that."
Ooh.
And I was like, "I'm gonna die now." So I just embarrassed myself a lot.
That's
It was
awesome, though.
It was really the name of the Olympics for me.
It
But
sounds like it worked in your favor, though.
Oh,
long
it's
term.
fun.
You're
I-
being memorable, you know, and that's a good thing in this
I'm
industry.
glad I was memorable. But no, I mean, it was super cool, and like it was definitely like one of the most valuable experiences I've ever had, and I think that that's a really special thing that like I will keep with me forever. If I could cover every Olympics until I died, I would. It's
Wow.
just,
Well,
like,
do you think
I
you'll get
want-
another opportunity?
I'm gonna do my best.
That's intense.
So when's the next app?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it depends on my big girl job and
Right.
that situation. So,
Right.
well, we're just gonna take it one day at a time.
Right.
Fair enough.
The point is that you have it, and you can always reference to that. Like I'm sure in job interviews, that's like the first thing you talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to.
that's the first thing that's brought up.
Also, because of obviously you did a great job. You work 16 hours a day, so an employer wants to be like, oh, she can handle herself. Like 16 hours a day on your feet, that's a lot. But also of the exclusivity of that opportunity that you got. You know, what's up? You want more?
Oh, take it. No, take
No,
it.
I'm just handing it to you.
Oh.
You were like all covert. I was
Yeah,
like,
I was like, what's going on?
I thought she was like, is something in the water? No, it's good. But yeah, you
She
had.
wants me to have a sip. That's what's going on.
I'm just trying to be the hospitable, half
And
Italian,
you are,
half
you
Jewish
are.
lady that I am.
And we
not-
appreciate you. I appreciate you, but
But yeah, that works in your favor. I mean, that's gonna give you a whole bunch of other opportunities. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's definitely something that's built you. But yeah, what a initial discouragement in the beginning of your college career, and then you come into something like this, which is like, does like do all your failures just like fade in comparison to something like this? It's a dream come true, really.
It's just kind of like, you know, if you would have told me my freshman year of college, like, hey, you would be going to the Olympics by your senior year, I would have laughed at you.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
yeah.
if you would have told me that I would have traveled out to Notre Dame to cover Temple football, I would have laughed at you. If you would have told me that I would be in the Wells Fargo Center during the Democratic National Convention doing radio stuff, I would have laughed
oh, I
at
didn't know you did that.
Oh, yeah.
When'd you do that? Oh, wait, never mind. That stupid question. But so wait, were you working there when the whole controversy of the emails came out of them?
That happened before the convention.
Okay.
Yeah. So like all summer. So the summer of the DNC. So pre-election summer, there was this fellowship at Temple, and it was basically like the Dean Boardman was like, I want to get students in the convention covering it, and I'll figure out how. And basically he created this fellowship that was like a reporters coalition. So 20 kids were selected, and we were all paired with a different media outlet. I ultimately was paired with a super liberal radio host from northeastern Pennsylvania, coolest dude, love him to death. But he would just have me like get interviews from delegates in the morning and like go to different caucuses and report back for the listeners just what was going on. And so, you know, I got to see a lot of things. I got to interview Cory Booker, which was awesome. Like, if he becomes president, I can be like, I interviewed the president once, which is super cool. But it was very different because, like, I realized very early on that I, like, did not want to do news. But I figured this is too big of an opportunity to pass up. Why not go for it? And I like politics. Like, I think that, like, political coverage is very interesting, especially for a convention like that, an election like that. So I was like, you know what? Like, this could be super cool. Maybe this will make me want to do politics. And, like, ultimately it didn't, but, like, it taught me a lot about coverage and how to, like, cover large-scale events like that.
Yeah, it's fast, high-energy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm on my feet all day. It's the same thing. Like, I think that definitely prepped me for the Olympics.
And do you like that? Like, is that your thing? I can't do that. Like, to be on your feet all day, run around, talk to people, put on the social face all day. Like, how do you do that?
You spend a lot of time by yourself on your time.
I edit. I mean, my day job is I edit television, and I am a media manager. So I sit in a room and put TV shows together. And I talk to only the producers. That's it. And I prefer it that way, you know. But like, I could never be running around and doing all that stuff. Yeah, that's so much.
It was super cool though. I mean, like, it was definitely like a really formative like experience of my early college career. I thought that would be the most impressive thing on my resume.
Yeah,
little for a really long time, and I had no idea what was yet to come. So.
Yeah. So out of all these experiences, now do you have like a general taste? Like, okay, this is what I want to do. I know you said that you want to do like Olympics. You would do that until you die. But like, what's like your general like dream job? If you could pick something out of the blue, like, yo, this is the occupation based off all of my experiences that I would take. Like, what would that be?
I think right now I realized in the summer of soul-searching postgraduate life.
That is a soul-searching summer.
Terrible. It's been
the
awful.
The sun goes down and these ghouls and goblins come out the ground. Yo, it's like hands come out of like the grass and stuff.
They
it's
try to
crazy.
like grab at your ankles.
Yeah,
and don't touch me.
It's like that. It's like that scene in Snow White where she's running through the forest and like, yo, the trees are grabbing her and stuff. Wow. That's what it's like.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's exactly what it is. But I think I realized through like applying to jobs and talking to news directors and things like that, my non-negotiable is that I have to work in sports. Like, I would much rather work in sports and be in production than do on camera for news. Like, if I never see the front end of a camera again, okay.
How do you feel about newscasting? Like, could you do like the
I'm
here right now at the station? You can do that?
No, I don't think that. I mean, I could do like a sports cast for a news station, but I couldn't do like the news reporting. Like, I think you have to be in a very like good place mentally to do that. To be bombarded with such like terrible news all the time.
Right.
And I don't think I could do that.
Not only that, but like, you're up at 4:00 in the morning if you're a newscaster, right? Like, you're
it depends on the shifts you're working. If you're working day side or night side.
But when you start, you got to get up like early. Usually that's what they start you off as.
You either work overnight or you work super early in the morning till like 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah. So like, which is fine. And I mean, you know, I've been talking to a whole bunch of different people and applying to a whole bunch of different kinds of jobs, and hopefully something will be fruitful sooner rather than later. But I think that like realizing this now saved me a lot of unhappiness and having to buy out of a contract and trying to figure things out. Like, I really like, my passion is sports, and I've worked so hard in sports that like I don't think I'm ready to give that up yet, just to be on camera.
There's an element of excitement. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you about to say?
No, we got plenty of time. Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you're trying to find like a Philly sports team to be an affiliate with.
I wish.
Does it take time to do that?
Yeah, it does. It takes time. I mean, I would love to work for the Eagles digital media team and like be a reporter for their digital media team. Like, that would, being a reporter for a team would be like my ultimate dream, because you're doing like all of the feature stuff, and that's what I like. Like, I've done play-by-play and color and sideline and things like that before. And, like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun and it's different, but, like, I like telling stories, which every journalist says. Once again, it's super overused cliche, but, like, I do. I talked about it earlier. Like, I like being able to humanize people. Like, athletes are people that are so revered for the things that they do and the abilities that they have. They're human beings. Like, they're people.
Yeah.
They have families. They have lives. They have other hobbies besides the sports they play. Like,
that's why I get weirded out when people are like, yo, F you, bro. Like, you switch teams. I'm like, dude, they're living their life. Like, they're getting this money. I don't know. I would never get mad at an athlete like that.
You know, I mean, I think of like the whole KD situation. I get upset just because I'm like, you could have gone
We talked
anywhere.
about that, yeah.
And then you're going to a team that beat you in the playoffs, and you know they already have all their all stars. Now you're just overkill. But you know, you do have a point.
Maybe I'm not
At the end of the day, it's their decision.
Well, honestly, I'm not really a sports person. I mean, that's no secret. But like when I see people doing that, I'm like, well, I think what you just said, like these people are human beings. Like they got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
you
like,
got to do what's best for your family and your
Right.
life. And
Got kids and stuff.
yeah, you might be married. You might have kids.
Right.
You might be providing for others back home. And like, you know what? That's fine. Like, you just got to do what you got to do. And I think like the best stories that I've been able to tell have been able to humanize people as people. Like, these are real people who are normal and great. Like,
Yeah, I was watching your reel on YouTube, your highlight reel, and no, you were interviewing this. I think you were interviewing the walk-on.
Sharga,
Temple.
yeah,
Yeah,
Nick
Sharga.
Sharga.
Yeah, now he's on the Raiders. Am I right?
he got cut from the Raiders, but he was signed to the Raiders, and I'm upset because Sharga is that dude.
He seemed like a really good guy from what you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Plays the guitar.
yeah, like
Walk on has like what was it like
11
six?
siblings.
Okay, 11.
Yeah, his 11 siblings
Ridiculous.
walked on to Temple's team after getting no like D1 offers. Ended up getting a single digit, which is like a very big thing in Temple football. Like, if you wear single digit, like you're the top, like one of the toughest guys on the team. And so like he's like one of the best fullbacks in college football, even though people don't use the fullback in college football the way they used to. But like when they used him, he was, you know, he was on fire. He always had been. And like I knew he played music. Like, everybody, like, that's not a secret. Like, on his Instagram, he'll post videos of him like playing guitar, and I was like, you know what, this would be dope to sit with him and like have him play some guitar and just kind of get in his mind, because he's very quiet and very like a beast on the field, but he just like
got a sick head of hair.
Great hair.
Dude, it's like just curly locks. It's just huge,
I know.
dude.
I asked him how he does his hair, like what he uses for his hair. He was like, I just use shampoo and conditioner.
Of course.
And I was like,
what a cop out.
I was like, you know what? You're lucky, because I have to use 27 products
No,
on my
you
hair
know
for
what?
it to look like
That's
kind of
that's
okay.
just selfish of him, because he definitely has a way of doing it, and he just didn't want to go into it.
Listen, I don't have hair like that. I don't have hair that's that curly.
It was like it was absolutely perfect, and this is me
Like
being
spiral
objective
curls.
about it. It was like
spiral
sick
curls.
hair.
You're
Dude.
pretty passionate about
It's
this,
sick
man.
hair.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's cool.
Oh, you'll see it.
He's like, oh, yeah, sure, it's great.
Yeah, but like he like that piece got picked up by like the ESPNU Campus Connection and things like that, because like it humanizes a player. Like I've had a couple that have like that one, and then the other story on my reel also was an ESPN, also went for ESPNU. But yeah, I think that like when you can humanize somebody, it's really, really important. And so like I want to be able to do that in my day-to-day life. Like I'd love to produce features and like write them and be in them and interview people. Like I just want to do that forever. And that would make me happy. Like that's what would make me happy. And I think that, you know, I just that's kind of where I want to go. And like I did so much feature reporting in college with Al Sports and things like that, and then senior year working for Temple's athletic conference, like all those things. Like I had to look for interesting things. Like I couldn't just be like, oh, so and so had a really good game. It was like, no, so and so is the first person in the program to make it to an international rowing competition after only rowing for 3 years.
You're putting a
Who was
spin
that?
on it, yeah.
Charlie Foreman.
Okay.
Yeah, she just graduated. She just rowed in the, oh my God, I'm going to mess this up. The International Collegiate Rowing Championship, I think is what it was called. It's probably wrong. I'm sorry, Charlie. You're not listening to me. It's fine. But she's just like a very normal person who started rowing right after she graduated high school and then went to an international competition to represent Team USA.
It's crazy how people just have this talent. Either it's innate talent or hard work or a little bit of both.
Probably.
But it's incredible what these people can accomplish.
I feel like a lot of these people, man, it's just the stuff you don't see. Like, you see them, like, flying across the field or rowing across water, but, like, while you're watching movies, you know what I'm saying? This person is going ham. Like, their whole body is just liquid. That's how much they're sweating, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes a certain mental state. Of course, these are just people, but it takes a certain mastery of your mind to get there. Like, for me, I look at people and how they treat fitness as, like, an extension of their intelligence. Because it's good to treat your body good, and it's good to be physically active. But, you know, these people have gotten down the success that they can achieve with their body to a science, and they're confident in it. And so they make training regimens and they push their body, you know what I'm saying? They push their body to its limit so that it acclimates to a higher point. That's how these athletes get better at what they do. And that takes a lot of mental tenacity. That's why people are like, oh, these athletes are dumb. Like, they're not good at school. It's just like, yo, I don't think that's the case for all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these athletes they're super intelligent. They just have a mental fortitude that's different than maybe an academia-based fortitude.
Yeah, I mean, they're developing a skill that's definitely a higher risk in that, you know, if they get injured, that might be it. If they're trying to make a professional team, get on a professional level, I mean, they got a very slim chance statistically. But it doesn't mean they can't do it. And I think that's why people look at academia as almost superior to that sometimes. But you're right. I mean,
it's secure. People like security.
It's a less risk path. I was just about to say that. There's less risk in doing that.
Yeah, people like security. People in every aspect of their life like security. That's why people don't like change.
You were talking about people, and from what I can tell, you're a real people person, and you obviously probably connect to people when you're listening to their stories and you're hearing about the stuff. What was your whole take on the back to the issue of the Olympics? What was your whole take on the Nassar case with the abuse that was going on in the gymnastics? How up to date were you on that? 'Cause
I was pretty up to date on it. Like I said, I'm very into the women's gymnastics team, and obviously as a woman in this day and age, especially in a male-dominated field, like, I've been exposed to a lot of, like, types of harassment for nothing physical at work, but I have had physical experiences like those. Not obviously not to the same extent. Everybody's is different, but you know, to be a survivor of sexual violence, to then, like, hear about this and hear that someone was just doing terrible things, like, people were signing their children away to be treated by this man who violated them and took them just completely took advantage of his position of, like, trying to heal them and saying, oh, well, this will make you feel better. Like, that's terrible. I mean, it takes a certain kind of evil to hurt people like that, more so for children.
Right.
And all of these women were children. And that's terrible. And Michigan State should be penalized. Michigan State should be penalized. The president of U.S. Gymnastics, resigned like 2 days ago. She should have. She should have resigned a very long time ago, or had been fired. Like, it shouldn't have to take Allie Raisman talking at the ESPYs to be like, hey, this is a really big problem.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Like, Me Too, as important of a movement as it is, because it gives people the voice to, like, come forward about their, like, the things that happen to them and feel, you know, try to empower people to speak up when bad things happen. You know, there's still a stigma with that. There's a big, huge stigma that comes with that, and people will look at you differently, like,
because you are in support of the Me Too movement?
No. Like, if you come forward as a survivor of...
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the hard part of that is just everyone's so quick to... I don't know why. I mean, it's that double standard of, if you're a woman and you call foul play on this certain thing that happened to you and just bring it to light, there's a lot of people that say that you're a liar for whatever reason. That's what my impression of it.
In thinking about it, I think people really don't want to believe the people that they work for, or their friends, or their family members, are bad people who can do bad things.
That's the whole Joe Paterno thing, right? It's like, you don't want to believe it.
I could talk about that for hours. But
That's
you don't want to talk about that for hours. Like, you could talk about that for hours, because Joe Paterno, whether you like Penn State or you hate Penn State, he is Penn State football. That's it.
You think he still is?
Side note. Isn't that movie coming out soon?
It already came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it good?
What movie?
I haven't watched it yet because it'll make me really irrationally angry, so I'm going to wait.
It's a Sandusky movie, Paterno movie? What is it?
It's called Paterno. Al Pacino is Joe Paterno.
Wow, is that in theaters?
It was an HBO movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
But like, Joe Paterno was the most powerful man in Pennsylvania, superseding state representatives, local government, state government. Like, Joe Paterno, like, could, like, people who revere, like, Doug Peterson, like, Doug, like, how you look at him and you're like, wow, like, you've done such great things for our city, is how people looked at Joe Paterno.
Yeah, the man has some pull.
Yeah.
Especially in central PA.
Yeah, especially because central Pennsylvania, if you don't want to make that choice of Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, you have Penn State. And so to know that he is the most powerful man in Pennsylvania who could have looked at somebody and been like known what was going on and been like, you're done. And like no one would have questioned it because he was Joe Paterno. Like he had so much more power than he ever could have believed. And that whether you think that that's a sign of guilt or whatever, like that's just the truth. Like,
you know, it's strange because you're right. He did have every opportunity because he knew about it. You know, he knew that his someone on his coaching staff was doing this horrible thing to these boys, and he just turned a blind eye to it. I don't know. It's just like, do you think he just didn't want to risk the success of his program? Is that the whole issue?
You can bring it around for Ohio State. You can bring it around for Maryland. Like everything that's gone on this summer, especially with the Big Ten, is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like how far people are willing to go to cover things up in the name of your team winning.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely disgusting. Like I am a sports fan through and through. I am a sports journalist, but like I pride humanity and human decency so much higher than I ever would winning a game.
Right.
Well, let me. Oh, go ahead.
No, just a quick piece. I think sports is a celebration of humanity. Like, I think sports highlights probably some of the best parts of humanity. I already talked about, like, perseverance, improving yourself. But with the whole thing, it's like, what does he want to, like, why didn't he say anything? Does he want to ruin his program, or doesn't he want to avoid ruining the program? Like, what is the whole motive behind that? It's like, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? We don't know why he did that. Like, and
we'll never know.
We'll never know. That's the point.
We will never know.
Right.
You know, it's something that is absolutely terrible, and people should focus more on not revering somebody who has done, like, or has supported someone or has whatever. Focus your energy and support for those survivors.
That's what I was getting
because
at,
that's what you need to do in situations like these.
Yeah.
Like, you need to, if you're angry and pissed off and devastated and like, and I say this a lot, like, especially with the Big Ten fans, because obviously all of these teams play each other, and they all have, like, very, like, in the last 7 years have, like, or in the last 10 years have covered up so much shit.
That's the dark side of competition.
Yeah.
Do you think they were all in on it with each other?
No. I think everybody just, like, has the same idea and does it. But, like, for people, like, at Michigan, or, like, people at Penn State to point at Michigan State and be like, how dare you not fire him? How dare the NCAA not get involved? It's the same thing with Joe Paterno. With the Zach Smith at Ohio State thing, like, people were so much more concerned about winning. Like, the president of Ohio State did not once say Zach Smith's wife's name at all.
I mean, the same thing happened with Florida State and James Winston,
Yeah.
right? Like, allegedly.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that obviously came to light via the hunting ground, and I think that, like, this whole movement, like, I'm not, like, shy or quiet about, like, being a feminist, and, like, the fact that I think that, like, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens if you're a woman, and there should be more equality in this world for all women, like, not just white women, women of color, trans women, women in the LGBT community, things like that, women in other countries. Like, you need to fight for this equality for all women, or you're not a feminist. And, like, that's just something that I, like, have prided myself on so much. But I think that also, like, that intersectionality and, like, being aware of things is how people, like, we need to be more cognizant of how we speak about sexual violence and things like that, and mental health too. Like, we talk about these things that are super stigmatizing in the media, and they come to light in the media, and, like, people, like, don't want other people to talk about, like, their struggles with mental illness. Like, if you're, like, a public figure and, like, you come out and you're like, oh, I have this, or, like, I have, like, I have clinical depression, or I have bipolar disorder, or I'm schizophrenic, like, people think differently of you because of a chemical imbalance in your brain,
Absolutely.
not because of the value of your character.
I mean, there's also the topic of women being blamed for things that men do. I mean, I'm thinking of the Mac Miller death that just recently happened, and now everyone's blaming Ariana Grande for breaking up with him and then dating someone else.
Yeah,
which
it's just like
it's incredible, right?
Like people blame Demi Lovato when she overdosed back a couple months ago, and they were like, that was her choice to use and things like that. And obviously addiction's a disease, and you know that it goes much deeper than the things that people say, but like they were like, oh, that was her choice to use drugs. And then when they flip it with Mac Miller and they're like, it's Ariana's fault for breaking up with him.
It's the
like
strange,
you hate women, it's fine, just say it.
Here's my take on it is that, I mean, she broke up with him because of his addiction, and possibly
is that true?
She kind of talked about that a little bit. I mean, maybe there's more into it than
leaving a toxic relationship for any reason, though, whether somebody is mentally ill or suffers from addiction or things like that, like these things, like obviously you want to support your partner and do what you can, but it is not selfish to leave. If you know what I mean, if your quality of life is being compromised, like you are allowed to get out.
Absolutely. I mean,
true.
I'm taking it from personal experience of having, like, you know, working in an ER. I have seen alcoholics and drug abusers come to the ER with their wives and having the worst attitude, just being jerks, throwing up everywhere, telling their wife or that, you know, get out of here, I hate you, I don't want you to be here, being very abusive. And these women just take it, and like they're very strong for that. They just, I don't want to say take it, they handle it. You know, like they handle it, and I don't really blame any woman for wanting to walk away from that or deciding that it's time to finally walk away from that. You know, and in terms of Ariana Grande and Mac Miller, it's interesting because I don't blame her for making that decision if that was the case. And in fact, like, she could have broken up with him for any reason, really, because it's none of my business why she decided to do that. And maybe that was, even if that was the reason he decided to abuse drugs and overdose, even if it was because he broke up with her, it is not her fault that he chose to do that.
But also, if you suffer from addiction, like your body, like you are craving a chemical dependence, and like you are suffering from a disease, like you can't blame somebody for for the effects of your illness, like and like people like just don't seem to like grasp that, which I think is why like Ariana's under such fire. And it's like, clearly she's dating somebody who's very vocal about their mental health and their mental health things, and like that's why the whole Pete Davidson, like the stigma around borderline personality disorder is terrible. Like Pete Davidson came out a couple years ago and was like, hey, I have BPD, which is like sounds so much worse than it is, but it's really just kind of like it revolves around like suicide ideation and like dependency in relationships and things like that. So they got engaged very, very quickly, and people are like, I've had laundry longer than their relationship.
It's so easy for people to observe and then make conjecture. It's different when you're in it, you know. And I think that's the thing. It's like you should first try to seek understanding. Like as foreign and alien as this condition may be to you personally, you must first try and seek understanding and automatically make conjecture. But see, I think the internet heightens that, because, you know, it's all picture and status generation where you post something and then it's everyone's job to react to it. And of course people are on surface level are going to be like, oh, you know, you should toughen up, you should man up. It's just like, yo,
you never
man,
say that to someone's face either. Like,
yeah,
the things
of course,
people say online, like,
it's crazy.
It's like having a mask, you know.
Yeah,
You're
it's
not
crazy.
really saying it.
Yeah.
It's your internet persona saying it. It's not
crazy.
really you saying it.
It's crazy. And
Let me-
I feel like a lot of the people that do that, though, secretly they have like their own demons that they're dealing with, and so they're poking at their fire, seeing how they'll react, you know. And that's not for everybody. Some people are just jerks. They have no motive. But I feel like a lot of people that are haters, you know what I'm saying, there's a darkness in their life.
Isn't that weird? Like the
they're trying to-
concept
they're
of
trying to live
trolling
with.
just to troll,
yeah,
quote unquote.
Well, it's the same thing with bullies, though. Like, a lot of times people are like, oh, like if you're like they talk about like middle school, high school bullies, like, oh, well, that's probably because they were going through something themselves. And I found out that a girl who like essentially like ruined my life in middle school, like told me all the time like no one would ever love me, and like things like that, like terrible things that like no sixth grader should say to anyone else. I found out a couple like much later, like post high school graduation, that she had just been diagnosed with diabetes. And I was like,
did you feel bad?
no, I don't feel bad at all.
Hey,
I was
tell
like,
like it is.
I'm sorry.
No, but it's just like, that doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. Like, if you're going through something or you're dealing with something, you have like a couple ways to deal with it, but like taking it out on other people and making other people suffer because you're suffering is like probably the worst way to deal with something.
Yeah.
Not that I'm here to judge people on the way that they deal with things, but like,
You also don't owe her anything.
yeah, I don't owe you anything. Why are you gonna make me feel some type of way? Because obviously I still suffer from the effects of things that were said to me 10, 11 years ago because of someone else's insecurity with something happening to them. And I think that that's such a like, and that's huge. And now that's why I can't wait to, once I get a job, go to my high school reunion next year and be like, hey everyone, guess what I have done
It's like
in the
the
past
5-year reunion?
life. Yeah, 5-year reunion.
Everyone has a different philosophy when it comes to that, and I coincide somewhat with yours, where it's when somebody is obstructive to you in your past and they're telling you that you won't amount to anything and they're basically being a bully. My whole philosophy is like you surpass this person, and like Sinatra said it, like victory is the best form of revenge.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing, and I think it's important to, for me anyways, I look at that person and I feel bad for them because I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get the whole thesis of life. It's like you're trying to cut me down and you're not even building yourself up. Meanwhile, I'm just building up, and this little cutting down that you're doing is not, because I dedicate all my time to building up. So like when I see people like that, I automatically feel bad. I'm like, dude, you don't get it. And those people never amount to anything. Like I look at them, I'm like, wow, like you're throwing everything away. And you're right, like terrible stuff happens to them. Not even stuff that came out of their own doing. Like they could get a disease or whatever. You reap what you sow. At least that's what I believe, right? So if you're positive and good to other people and you work hard, good stuff happens to you. But if you're the opposite, I'm just like, what are you doing, man? Like you're committing life suicide. Don't be toxic to people. It's so easy, It's so easy.
It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Right.
It is more work to be an asshole than it
But
is
some people
to be
get
nice.
such pleasure off of being assholes.
And they're
though.
sociopaths.
I think that's rooted in fear, though, because they look at their own insecurities and they're like, what do I do about this? And they don't have the ability to express their own insecurity and fear about themselves. So the way that they express it is lashing out to other people to see how they deal with the darkness. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, you're an evil scientist. That's like the worst thing you could possibly do, At least that's how I see it. It's nuts, but
Can I go right back to the Me Too movement real quick? I had a question because this is an argument I hear from a lot of mostly guys, maybe some women, but mostly men who make the argument that some of these women coming forward are not genuine. Some of these women coming forward just want some spotlight, or they're jumping on the bandwagon of like maybe one or two women that were correct. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying this is an argument I hear time and time again. Like, what do you feel about that?
I feel like, well, again, as somebody who has like endured sexual violence and things like that and has not reported it, like, I could come out now and say something that happened to me when I was a sophomore in high school happened, and people could be like, that's not true, then why didn't you report it? Like, people will always find a reason to invalidate the things that happen to you. And
that's so true.
But also there are, and this is not me saying that nobody does this, because there have been cases have been where people have come forward with a story that was not true, for whatever reason that may be, and that discredits all other women who do come forward. And that's why, like, these women should receive the same punishments as the assailants. Like, you can't be like it is not okay to just like lie about things like that. Like, these things ruin people. They absolutely ruin people's lives, their senses of intimacy, their relationships with their body.
That's something I can't even fathom, is you're being unable to be intimate because of what's happened to you. You know, it's like almost, I've never experienced it, but it's almost must be like reliving that one experience over and over again.
She used a really good term, though, which is invalidation. And that's what happens when people come through with like fake stories. And the reason why that's become prominent is because of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
go on.
And it's just like, why? Like, money at the expense of someone
just
else's
like
life?
Just because they're trying to get money is what you're saying.
I'm not saying all these people, but
also,
the ones that you are talking about, that's where the invalidation comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to invalidate like all these people who are suffering because of money? Like, how can you do that?
Well, and then there's the Asia Argento thing too, where she was like a big supporter of the Me Too movement, but paid off somebody that she had allegedly assaulted as well.
Wow.
And so it's just kind of like, you know what it means? Like,
plot thickens.
And the double standard's even greater for that, I'd say.
Well,
women assaulting men.
Well, and that stigma is bad too, because if a guy comes forward to someone and goes, oh my gosh, like, this woman took advantage of me, they'll just be like, ha ha ha, like, no,
Yeah,
like,
that
I'm
doesn't
sure-
happen, dude.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like, you're the man, like, whatever, like, high five, dap up, and like leave, like, and that's equally as dangerous. Like, all of these things are dangerous, and it needs to come from a shift in culture. And I think the ability to talk about it and like be more open and things like that, we can really, like, I think our generation can really change a conversation. I think we've grown up in a really interesting time, both politically and socially and economically and all of that good stuff. Like the world is changing, and we have been at the forefront of that change.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was about to say my jurisdiction on that, but I want to hear yours first.
I was just gonna say we're definitely growing up in a time where it's more common for women to talk about these things, and it's not perfect yet. It's definitely not perfect, but at least we're moving forward.
It's the internet. I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
there's never been a time where ideas, and we always talk about this on the show, have been spread so fast and expressed, and things been made aware of so quickly.
The world is
that
so
now
small
the internet.
now.
That's the thing, and now crime is getting lower. I mean, you look on the news, and a lot of bad stuff happens, of course, but overall, in the history of mankind, now, at least in America, is the lowest point of crime that's ever been. And so things are getting brought to light more. And I'm not saying there's a lack of bad guys, because there totally are. There's a ton. But now with the awareness that's being made in our generation, I think people are becoming less and less inclined to join that side. But with that brings a whole nother futuristic problem that may happen with automation and robotics. And I'm not sure if you listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, but Elon Musk was on this last episode.
Smoking weed.
I mean, I know that happened.
Yeah,
I
of
didn't
course you
listen
did.
to it.
They
Everyone
played
heard
that in
about
Times
that.
Square. That was like in Times Square, that video. It's
Jeez.
huge. It blew up. But they had an interesting conversation on there about, pretty much our whole entire lives being quantized into digital data, social media and stuff that we've left online our whole entire lives, and how with automation, artificial intelligence, there's enough to like construct us that is out online right now. You and I, information
You can
about
make an
ourselves.
artificial me.
Well, I'm not
How are you
saying
saying?
right now. I'm saying in the future, if we keep on the trajectory, if you keep an Instagram and I keep an Instagram and you keep an Instagram, we keep our Twitters and Facebooks and all that information compiled up over time. Do you think that's
have a
too
life.
much? But we leave like a huge digital footprint. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I just think it's crazy. I mean, that's why they always say, like, oh, be careful what you post online.
Especially for
blah,
you,
blah.
because you're going to be in the public eye.
I know, and I think about that all. You know what? There is not a tweet that I send or a picture that I post that I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say that.
Careers ended.
Yeah.
What's her face?
Who?
That happens. It happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like people, it happens to people who like they find old tweets. And honestly, if people decide to go dig through my tweets, you're just gonna find some old emo song lyrics, and like that's okay. Like cool. Like retweet my Panic at the Disco lyrics, and then just be like, wow.
Yeah, they're gonna
she
try
was-
to break you down with that.
Oh, I hope
Careful.
I'm gonna be like, oh, so you didn't listen to the glory days of pop punk? Okay, loser. Like you're lying. No, because like that. But that's the thing. It's just like people, like because there is so much of you online, like you have to be so infinitely careful, and like because obviously like it's a really beautiful thing that like our lives can be tracked by pictures and the things that we thought in a moment and things like that. Like I think that's it's like a mini time capsule. It's
Yeah,
just there.
definitely.
Scrolling through my Instagram, which I started like right like my senior year of high school, it's just like wow, I forgot that happened. Or like
How often do you
wow.
go back?
Not that often, but like if I do, it's just kind of like wow, like I remember exactly what I was thinking that day, or I remember like
Yeah.
what was bothering me.
Right.
Like I remember why like I posted that sappy lyric on Facebook, or I don't, and like that's
subtweeting.
okay.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's totally fine, and like it's just like it goes to show, but it also shows growth. And like I mean, at least with the age of the internet, we can have like our worst photos online up to like now when we like hopefully have glowed up. I think I have, because I was like the ugliest, most awkward child ever.
I mean, we all go through our growing pains, right?
Mine was most of my life, so it's fine.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was so bad.
Yo, everyone's got a different trajectory. My thing is like, if I have a kid, like, what's he gonna think about my Instagram? Like, how crazy is that? Will Instagram even be like around?
We might still have them, but like, what if like,
There's gonna be some kind of new platform by that point.
Yeah, like no, we don't use Facebook that much anymore, and like
Nah.
No, it's still. I mean, it's still around, but we're not gonna our kids are not gonna be using it. Our kids' are not gonna be using Facebook.
Parents have taken over Facebook, yo.
Parents are the worst on Facebook.
That's where all the baby pictures
And
are on
yo,
Facebook.
dude, they're starting to take over Instagram too.
My
That's why I don't think it's gonna be much longer before we're abandoning ship with Instagram. I really think
They
it.
gotta sign the comments. They're like, Ryan, great picture.
Yeah, look, that's what happened. Yo,
Love mom.
no, seriously, that's what happens, and I cringe every time. But I'm just like, I know how much controversy it's gonna cause if I block you. Exactly. Yeah, there's the and if neither of your parents have gone on Instagram yet, God bless you.
Isn't
And
it the worst?
Both of my
I wish
parents
you
are on
the
Twitter
best.
though, so.
Do they tweet or do they just retweet?
Oh no, they tweet.
Yo,
What do they tweet?
My dad's Twitter name is literally Dr. Yeet.
Dr. Yee, does he
Your dad's
does he
cool.
tweet
'Cause he
medical
thinks-
information or what?
No, he like tweets about sports and like tweets about other things and like will retweet things about us and like things like that. Like my mom always tweets about us. Like my mom like will always like quote tweet a broadcast and be like, oh, that's my baby, or like my mom like loves to tweet at celebrities and use a lot of hashtags.
Proud mom.
Which is fine, total mom. But then my dad is just like my dad will just like comment back to like Philly sports Twitter and things like that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, man, whatever. But we have like a family. You know how families have like text group chats?
Quick question: you have any siblings?
Yes,
Okay.
I mentioned her
My
in the
bad, my
beginning.
bad,
I have
yeah,
an
yeah.
18-year-old sister who just started at the University of Delaware.
Oh yeah, that's what you said. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Ages,
Chat.
you know.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So but you know how most families have like a family like group text.
Yeah.
So my family has one of those. My family also has a group Twitter DM in which we send memes to each other
Oh, that sounds fun.
because my parents are hip with meme culture.
So wait, pause. So what 5-year-old meme are your parents just discovering and sending to you?
You know what? They like my dad loves the word yeet. Clearly, if it's in his Twitter name, no, he loves it. He thinks it is the funniest thing ever. Like the other day,
Yo, I just put two and two together. I didn't even think of.
no,
the-
that's literally why his no, that's literally it. He calls
I can understand why he likes it.
No, I can too. But like he sent us a tweet yesterday that was like yeet or be yeeten. And I was like,
oh, punny,
and I was
dad
like,
pun,
Dad joke.
dad
stop.
pun.
Like he said this to me and he was like, which do you choose? And
Oh,
I was like,
God.
stop, get off Twitter. But like he'll also send me like those like hold my beer videos of people doing dumb shit
Oh,
and
yeah.
like things like that. Like my dad thinks that's the funniest Twitter account on the planet. Sends
What do
us
you think?
Listen, I mean, it's like the whole like barstool broy
Yeah.
culture of like, you know, but like
Yeah, with
to
a
be
name like
fair-
Dr. Yeet, I believe it.
But like those are all things that like they get so much traction, whether it be good or bad. Like my favorite viral video on the internet right now is something that Barstool posted like 2.5 months ago, and I think about this video every single day, and I show it to everyone.
I'm a student of Barstool. What is it?
It's the girl twerking and playing the flute to "Mask Off" by
Yeah.
Future. That is my
Oh
favorite
yeah!
video
Oh, I forgot about that one.
was awesome.
That is my favorite video ever. It is mesmerizing. The reaction to that was just like, what?
You ever see the video?
Like, it's incredible. Like, I love that video so much, but like, I don't need to see people like jumping off of a roof and like,
Just making it in the pool.
yeah, like I don't.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't need to see that. I don't need to have a heart attack because of the dumb things that you do. Like, I'm totally fine watching this girl twerk and play. And she wasn't even really twerking. She was just kind of body rolling. But, like, playing the flute and dancing to feel. Like, what?
that's
like,
amazing.
what are you doing? It's my favorite video.
There's
and
this-
I think it is just. It's gold.
There's another, I believe it's Barstool. It's one of those where like this girl just like throws back a shot, or maybe she's like throwing back a handle. But there's some ridiculous feat of alcoholism, and like there's a guy in the background just like holy shit, like he was just like I don't know, he looked like he was like really into it. He's like I need to get this girl's number right now.
Yeah.
That's how you meet your future wife, you know?
Barstool's a cool one.
I think it's grown a lot too to
Yeah.
be like I love Chicks in the Office, like I listen to their podcast,
Yeah.
like I love Rhea and Fran.
I like Chicks in the Wild too. That
Chicks in the
one's-
Wild. Well, their
one's
whole
great.
thing is good. Like
Yeah.
their whole like brand, like the XM channel, their XM show, the podcast is great. Their videos that they do just about like random pop culture things and random sports things, and then Chicks in the Wild, like recapping all this stuff. Like they have definitely, I think they engaged the audience that they wanted. Like they got their demographic by doing all like the bro-y,
It's college stuff.
douchey college
It's
stuff.
just college stuff.
To then expand and be like, and now it's like more, it is like very much toned down. I mean, it's still Barstool, like you know,
I mean you can only tone down so much.
yeah, exactly, but it's not as bad as it was, or like as
they made fools out of everybody. Like
In what way?
NFL,
Oh, it was incredible.
ESPN,
yeah.
they were clowning everybody. Like,
That's how they got famous.
it's crazy. But like that's what I'm trying to say. Like that is the future. Like the internet and the internet platform is just killing it. Like
I'm thinking of like when there's someone taking the video and there's someone famous walking by and they're like, oh, Tom Brady, like, can I get a picture with you or whatever? And then they go to do it and they're just like, fuck you, I hate you. Like, you suck. Like,
the caption in Snapchat is like, you idiot. It's so bad. It's so mean to laugh at, but I think it's funny.
I know, it's really fucked up, but it does make me laugh.
Like a Bernie Sanders one got me so bad. It was this kid in Bernie Sanders, and he's like, "Yo, Bernie, can I take a picture?" Bernie Sanders like, "Cool." He's chill. And we took a picture, and he goes, idiot, college will never be free." I was like, it's so jacked up.
My favorite one of those videos is, which is not them like torturing somebody, but like these girls were like on a run in Beverly Hills, and they saw the guy who played Zac Efron's dad in High School Musical. They saw Coach Bolton, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's Coach Bolton!" Da, da, da. And he like stops his run, runs over to them, and goes, "Go Wildcats!" Into the video and like runs away. And
That's
I was like,
insane.
"That's
This
incredible."
is on Barstool.
That's everywhere. That video was everywhere. I have seen that video so many times. Like it'll come back sometimes, and I'm like, "Oh, it's back."
What do you think of all the
I bookmark all that stuff.
Oh, I love it.
I go right through my bookmarks. Just
we're
watch
talking about
funny
like
stuff.
memes and viral videos. What do you think about the whole like Cap campaign, all those memes that are made from it?
I think the memes from it, like all the Office ones, are like very funny.
We actually
My friend who was on the podcast made one of the big ones, the Dwight one. That was him.
Oh yeah, was that seriously
And
him?
it's like nationally recognized.
Sped
Yeah.
a comedy.
Yes, Sped
Shout
Comedy.
out.
I follow Sped Comedy.
Really?
Thank
Great
you.
guy.
He's
He's a
He'd
great
be happy
guy.
to know that. Yeah, he's my best friend's older brother. He's
Shout
one of
him
the
out.
coolest people. Yeah.
No, I love it. No, like I think that like as long as you're not like
Oh, his big butt here.
he's like
Big butts. Continue.
as long as you're not like trying to make light of it in a way that's like harmful. Like these memes are not doing any, you know what I mean? Like these memes are like taking something that so many people are mad about and making them just like ridiculous.
They're hilarious.
And they're funny.
They're so
like,
funny.
It's funny.
That's the point. It's
You're
funny.
not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Like you're also not hurting the movement because the movement has already started a conversation and like obviously like it's a beautiful ad campaign and I love it.
I mean, yeah, it's been years and he's still going.
Yeah, bless him, man. Like it's incredible. But like these memes that have come from it are just like
So
every
good.
time I see one, I screenshot it and send it in a group chat.
So
Like I
good.
think they are so good. Like they're so funny.
Yeah, they're great.
Like memes that make fun of things like that or like take the like memes that are kind of meta and things like that. Like
Yeah.
the one with like the butterfly and the girl and it's like me this like is this whatever. Like
Yeah, it blows my mind how quickly they can expand on that one one ad. Yeah, that one ad. Now they're going everywhere. They're like, The Office.
One photo, yeah.
Now they're doing. I saw a 9/11 one today where they're like,
That's kind of crazy.
I did not see that. I did not see
That
that.
might be
Look it
going
up.
a bit too far for most
Well,
people.
yeah. I mean, I guess today's 9/11, so they did it in memorial of that. But yeah, it was just kind of just like something about like the firefighters, and they're just like, just do it, like be a hero, just do it. Something like that.
Oh, so it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it wasn't.
so it was
It wasn't.
not,
It wasn't fucked up.
When
Okay,
I thought
can see-
meme, I immediately thought because like memes are supposed to make you go.
No, they weren't making fun of 9/11.
I love memes.
Yeah.
Meme culture is, I think, one of my favorite things about like this millennial culture is just like the investment in memes.
Do you have a favorite meme all time?
That's really hard.
I gotta say Doge. That's mine.
Mine is
Throwback.
Mine is a video meme, but it's John Cena. Are you sure about that? I love that. If I could throw that like in a text,
Are you
I would
talking
do
about
it
like
all
the
the time.
surprise one? Like it's
Yeah,
John
where his,
Cena.
his head just appears and he goes, "Are you sure about that?"
I don't know that. I don't know that one.
Oh man, beautiful.
I think
You have
my
to send me
favorite GIF. I can't give you a meme right now. I have to think about that. But my favorite GIF is the kid who's like typing on the computer. It's like from an 80s TV show. He's like typing on the computer and he like looks away and he goes and he like puts his thumb
He
up
goes-
and
he
like
goes-
shakes
he
his head. Yeah.
With his lips?
And he like purses his lips. I think I use that GIF as often as I can.
Right.
Because I just think it is ridiculous. I think my favorite meme, it's a GIF that turned into a meme, the blinking man. I think that is so
I
the dude
forgot about
where it's
him.
just like the profile of his
Yeah.
face and he's like,
yeah, that's me in like most situations.
that-
so like I feel that.
Yeah,
big
that
time.
that one had a long run. My favorite one.
It's still going, honestly.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But my favorite one from that, the one that really got me, I remember, is it was like the first track that Quavo was on without the rest of the Migos, and it just like when Offset and Takeoff realized that Quavo was like doing a song by himself, and they're just like,
That's a good one too. But yeah, meme culture is a thing. Like your media studies in production, like they're like memeologists, like people who study that. And
listen, I'm gonna go to grad school.
It's a science.
Grad school in memes. Honestly, I'm gonna get a degree in memes and talk to you about memes. I'm gonna come back and we're gonna have a full 4 hour.
I kid you not. I kid you
meme
not.
girls, meme girls.
Meme girls.
But like that's actually a thing. I kid you not. I read a linguistics article the other day, not like a few weeks ago, about like dog speak and how there are rules to dog speak. Like wow, such art, many like paintings. Wow.
And they also just like words have like been invented and like things like that and. It's just like whack. Like it is just so whack.
What do you mean?
It's just crazy what the internet has like done. Like dog spotting was a Facebook page where people posted pictures of dogs. It still exists. I've submitted to dog spotting. It's very cute. Like you just scroll through.
You submitted. Did it ever get on?
Oh yeah, you just post on this wall.
Oh, I see.
Like,
so it's okay.
Yeah. You just like post pictures of dogs that aren't. They can't be your dog. It has to be a dog that you like saw out and about.
How are they gonna be able to look that up?
They
have their ways.
Yeah, they have their ways. They just know. But like. They all, like, you know, it'll be like 13 out of 10, such a good boy, like, what a cute pupper, and things like that. Like, all of these words, like, came from
doggo.
this.
Doggo.
That all came from dog spotting. And,
Doggo.
like, that is, like, a thing now, and it's just like, oh, my God. Like, what?
You think, like, the Shibi Inu is, like, the face of
that's the doggo.
dog spotting?
That's a doggo.
Like, doggos, Doggos in general.
Yeah, well, Doge is definitely is, yeah.
Is it Doge or Doge? Because I say Doge.
I say Doge.
Oh, God. We were
My
getting
friend
along
has a
so well.
My friend has a Shiba Inu, and I call him Doge all the time.
They are wild. They're very hard to train. They are
partiers?
Yeah,
super
he's
independent
terrible.
dogs. And
He's
like,
not terrible. He was just like, he was a bad puppy.
I ran into somebody in Fairmount when I was doing my run, and I was like, it was a black and white Shiba Inu. It looked awesome. I went up to the guy. I was like, hey, man, I'm thinking about getting this dog. Like, what can you tell me about
He's
it?
like, don't get it. Turn back now.
Seriously, that's what he was like, bro, this thing is like having a kid. He's like, I haven't been able to sleep. He's like, I'm going on a trip. Like, he's like, I hired some people to come to the house and train him. He's like, these people are in my house. Like, he goes, this dog runs my house right now. And he goes, part of it is because, you know, I have to work. I'm not with him all the time. He's like, but they don't listen. Like, they're super, super independent. And I was trying to pet this thing, and it was just like looking around, like, looking up at the sky. This is a cool looking dog, but yeah, that's definitely doggo. Like, that's definitely or Doge. I like Doge.
Yeah. Are you guys hip with stand-up comedy?
I'm huge into it. I'm actually going to 2 shows this week.
He's a lot more into it. I mean, I don't know. You
like mainstream comics.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a stand-up comic last episode. Erin Donahue. Erin Donahue, yeah. She's a friend of mine from Temple, and she came and told her story about being a stand-up comic. But who do you like?
I think about stand-up all the time, like doing stand-up, because so many ridiculous things happen in my life.
Have you ever done it?
Oh, no. I mean, I've written bits because I like stand-up comedy, and like I've written like bits about things that have happened in my life. Just for fun. Like I would never go to an open mic and do it.
Why not?
I don't know. We'll see what happens with my career and if I have to if I can embarrass myself.
Yeah,
but
you already did that in South Korea though. You had some events, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I have so much, like I have like a whole set just like about the Olympics. Like my roommate Sydney and I like wrote a ton of stuff, but like.
Well, hey, if you ever go to an open mic night, you got 2 fans right here.
Oh, can't wait! Thanks,
we'll
guys.
be in the front row like, ha, 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 just laughing like really loud.
We were talking about dogs running the house, and I have to like. It just makes me think of the John Mulaney bit where he's talking about training Petunia. And like how the dog trainer walks into their apartment and goes, oh, okay, I see what the problem is. Petunia is the alpha of the house. And he's like, well, I was never the alpha of the house, so...
Rough. That's a pun right there. But yeah, with dogs, that's a big thing. And I feel like that's why, I don't know. Whenever I see a dog, it gets really mad at me. It gets angry on me. Maybe I give that alpha persona off.
Maybe
I
they
don't
smell
know.
the cat on you.
Most dogs don't like men, though. Like
Why
men,
is that?
Testosterone, you think?
I think it's like the deepness of voices. Like, you know how when you talk to a dog, like your voice like jumps a couple octaves and you're like, oh, hi, baby. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you talk to dogs and like babies, because like they respond better to higher pitches. So if you speak really low, it probably that probably is like, oh, it's mad at me.
Well,
like,
I was
it sounds like a growl.
When I was at the Kruger in South Africa, like on the safari, the safari guy was telling us there's these things called impala. They're basically like deer, but you know, South Africa, and that's the only way I know how to explain it. They're basically the same thing. Just
you know
different
deer,
continent.
right?
Yeah.
You know what deer are? These are South African deer.
Basically, like honestly,
sorry.
if you saw one, you're just like, yeah, it's a deer. But he was saying that like sometimes women and small children can go up to these impala and just like they don't move. They are not threatened by them. They can get really close and everything's fine. But if a male, like a guy, tries to, they'll run away. Like
Strange.
Yeah, it's probably the pitch of voice.
it's
Like,
a pitch
that's-
of voice. They're pheromones. Like the
Yeah.
things that we can't smell, but other animals can smell. And like I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but like testosterone might have its own smell, quote unquote, and because we have higher levels of that, they
Yeah.
You
sense
get it,
that.
you're men.
Yeah, exactly.
You're so manly,
we
guys.
got
Thank
we
you
got
guys
a lot
so
of
much for
BO.
that.
Animals flee when I walk around. They bow.
we're super alpha, so like, they don't want to be anywhere near us.
It's a good point. I mean, animals can definitely sense things that we can't. Like my cat, when it's raining here, the very first step on the basement down here, she'll sit on that step and face the corner and just go into a little ball, and then it'll start to rain. And we're like, wow, like I guess like something in the air changed that she could smell or sense. Like animals are they're so super perceptive. Like it's crazy.
They say with like tornadoes, you can tell like if something's coming because the animals just start going
If
crazy.
you see a bunch of animals running to the hills, like it's time to go. Like, can you imagine?
Listen, that's what happens. We know Ryan's a skeptic, but in paranormal stuff as well, like animals can sense that. Like if an animal is like afraid to go into a room or something, like if you move into a new house that has like history of being haunted or whatever, like an animal won't go in there, it probably is because it senses something is there.
So you believe in ghosts?
We've talked about this before.
yeah.
Yes.
Talk about it some more.
I was gonna say, Alexa, do you have any ghost stories?
I do have ghost stories.
Tell me.
Let's dim the lights and light a candle.
The organ. Phantom of the Opera.
Ryan's just gonna put on half a face mask.
I just take a shot of Ryan next to the light switch, like going back and forth, like flicking it.
Plot
dead.
twist. I was the ghost the entire time.
Oh, Ryan.
Hey, where's Perry? But it's very like, okay, so I live in a Philadelphia suburb, and I'm not going to triangulate my location too much. Not
Right.
that anybody wants.
We don't
to,
want anyone tracking you down.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna want to track me down. I'm not. It's fine. But
Famous reporter.
yeah, I know. Just go see my parents' house. But so I grew up right next to a really, 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 really old church. Like my town was founded, like the suburbs of Philadelphia. A lot of them were founded colonial times, because people moved out, and that's just something that happened to make farms and stuff. So like I live like my house, my neighborhood was developed on farmland, and next to that farmland is a cemetery, is like a church and a cemetery and things like that. And so, like, there are tombstones that date back to, like, the 17 teens.
Oof.
Like, it is ridiculous. Like, and you can still, like, read the headstones. Like, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's ridiculous. So, like, you know, when you're little and, like, everything is just kind of, like, you just, like, always are, like, hyperactive and, like, always want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when I was younger, like, very, very little, I was probably not more than, like, 6 or 7. I live in the front of my neighborhood, and all of, like, my friends lived in the back of my neighborhood. So, like, it was so, like, you know, like, people, if I heard people outside, I was probably with somebody else.
Right.
So, like, every night for, like, a couple months, it was, like, one summer, I would just, like, wake up around, like, 2:50 to, like, 3:20-ish. And I had a clock in my room, like, a little analog clock. So I would, like, see what time it is, and I'd like go look out the window because I thought I'd hear people outside like playing and stuff, and it never was, and I'd go back to sleep. And I know I was awake because I would write down the times, so like it wasn't like I was just like dreaming it. Like I would wake up and like write something.
Why were you doing that?
I don't know, I was like 7 years old. I don't know, maybe it told me that I needed to write things down.
That's an interesting thing for a 7-year-old to do.
I don't know, writing down times. I mean, I think probably just because it was happening all the time. So
Okay.
I was like, what time am I waking up? I want to remember this tomorrow. Or like some like inquisitive, like young child thing to do. Like nothing like set in anything, but like it would always be like like within the same like 40 minutes or so time frame. And I like woke up one day to like look outside, and there were people outside. I was like, that's really weird because it's like 3 a.m. And then and I was like, all right, I'm going back to sleep. Like, cool, people are outside. There are older kids in the neighborhood. It's probably the older kids in the neighborhood. And then I would wake up to like whispers. Like I would hear people like like come outside, like come play and things like that.
Oh, it's like
And
kind of
so
like The
we
Shining.
Not
So
no,
I'm
because
getting
it
The Shining
it was
vibes.
like a comforting thing. Like it wasn't like a like malicious or anything thing, and I just kind of like let it be
The sound of a child or an adult?
a child,
Okay.
like children. And so, a couple, I think it was maybe like a year and a half later, my grandfather passed away right before my little sister was born. So like I was like 4 years old when he passed away, and he had a harmonica that he gave my dad, and my dad keeps it on his dresser. And we finished dinner one day, and I went upstairs probably to like go get something from my bedroom and then come back down. But like I went into my room, I walked out, and I saw like a male figure holding the harmonica box walking, and I thought it was my dad, but I was like, when did my dad come up here? Like I would have heard him. And the man turned, winked at me, walked in my parents' room, and was gone. And it was was this gray older man.
So when you saw it wasn't your dad, what was your reaction?
I was like, oh my god. Like I followed it in, and there was nothing in there. And
Wow,
I
you followed
followed
it? That's
it in.
brave.
I would have
Listen.
slept outside.
Yeah, I was like, all
I
right,
was-
peace. I'm moving.
Well, because then I ran
Going to live
downstairs
with Annie.
Yeah, burning this house right now.
Let's burn down the house. But I like ran downstairs, and I was like, Mom, Dad, da, da, da. And like I don't remember if I told them or not, but like I like saw that my dad was down there, and I was just like, this is weird. And then we got a Ouija board.
Why? Why did you say let's get a Ouija
You're doing
board?
all the wrong moves here. You're
Yeah,
chasing
this
after the
is-
ghost.
this
You're
reminds me
looking
of
out the window at
paranormal-
3 o'clock in the morning. Like,
This reminds me of Paranormal Activity.
what's going
Okay,
on?
but like I'm here, you're here. It's
Thank
fine.
God.
We're fine. But
So you got the Ouija board.
So my friend had a Ouija board, or her neighbor did. I don't remember who had the Ouija board, but it was like you would do
It
this
was
at
there.
my friend's house. It was there.
Yeah.
And so we would just, like play with it and like read things, and it was never anything like serious or scary. And like we knew that you had to like ask questions and like always like be very polite and respectful, because you never know what's in the board.
So I've
or
never
whatever.
used a Ouija board. Like, do you actually feel it moving itself?
So like it's supposed to be like off of the energy of your hands. Like you don't push it. Like you all just like press, like lightly tap your fingers on like the oracle thing that moves. But it's supposed to be like your like energy is like going through like whatever. But like I have never pushed the thing on a Ouija board. My sister got cursed by a Ouija board once.
Oh, that's another story, isn't it?
Yeah, so we got a Ouija board. Like I got a Ouija board because I'm just that kid, and I got a Ouija board. It's like getting Jumanji. I feel like it was like you get Jumanji and it like ruins your life. Like I got a Ouija board instead. So Jumanji's a great film. I would play it, but
Except I don't want any rhinos running through my house.
I don't want to get attacked by a lion.
Did
in
you
my
see the
parents'
remake?
bedroom.
Seems
No, I
epic.
did not.
I hear that was pretty good.
I did hear it was pretty good. I did not see it though.
So anyway, you got this Ouija board.
So we got the Ouija
Like, I'm really interested in the Ouija board.
Ryan, you're the one creating the side
I'm
caveats
sorry. I'm
and
sorry.
then going back in.
I apologize to everyone listening right now. It's just like, I just want to know what happened to the Ouija.
So,
Sorry.
He's on the edge of
Sorry.
his seat.
So like we were just kind of playing with it, and my sister came down, and she like, was just like being a loud, obnoxious 7-year-old, as you do when you're like 7 or 8 years old, and it like started to move. Like we weren't like asking anything. Like it started to move, and it spelled out curse.
Ooh.
And my sister was like, "You're doing this to scare me." Whatever. Later that day, she flipped over the handlebars on her bike. And I was like,
She all right?
"That's not." Yeah, she's fine. I was like, "That's not a coincidence, though." I was like, "That's really not a coincidence."
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's a thing that
Do
happened.
you feel like she's still cursed?
No, probably not. She's probably
Probably not.
she
But
won't
no
go
way
near,
to say for sure.
She won't go near the Ouija board.
Right. And
She's-
you said you've never done it.
No, I have one now, and I have done it.
So what did it say?
I mean, we've just like we tried. My neighbors and I, like the girls in my neighborhood, because like I was not the only person who had this experience, like of like waking up and like hearing things and seeing people outside. So that's cool
Yeah.
that we all kind of like it was very like
Yeah, it's very strange.
yeah, it's a very like weird thing that like we all tried to talk to them and just like see like how old they were and stuff.
Crazy.
But I don't know. I mean, listen, you can be a skeptic, you can believe. But if
Hey,
you
I'm
see
still
some-
into the stories.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
hell, my sister thinks that she sees ghosts. She says that there's one living in her house right now. I mean, I've grown up with people saying that the ghosts are around. They even said that I used to see them when I was younger. I just don't remember that.
I've
You
had
know.
some crazy experiences, but those are all due to sleep paralysis.
I've
That's
I've had sleep paralysis too, and it is terrifying.
I used to have it a lot because in college, So junior year, this is a story. So junior year, I really started to keep a dream journal because I've always had like vivid dreams. And I was reading up a lot about lucid dreaming, how like when you're asleep, you have a dream. If you practice being mindful in your dream, that you can kind of control it in lucid dreaming. It's fun. And the key to doing that is writing down what you dream every night. So you recognize the pattern of when you are dreaming in your head. So when you're dreaming, you go like, oh, I'm lucid dreaming. And you can start to be mindful and control things or whatever. It's pretty fun. So in junior year, I kept a journal every single night. I'd like when I'd wake up in the morning and the dream was fresh, I would just jot down like really quick what it was. The problem with lucid dreaming is you're kind of in the state of awakeness and sleep at the same time. So you're more prone to sleep paralysis. So it happens more often. This one time, sleep paralysis is like, for people who don't know, you're in this state where your mind is awake, but your body, your motor skills aren't responsive yet, so you can't get up. I mean, you guys know about this, but it's also accompanied by hallucinations because your mind is still getting back to, comprehending reality and stuff. So I had this really crazy experience that I was talking about yesterday in college. So I woke.
like reliving mine
This
right
is
now.
crazy. It was completely dark, right?
Sleep paralysis is the worst thing that you can go through.
like
I
cringing.
sleep on my back always. As a kid,
Why?
so that's another story, but I'll keep it brief. When I was young, the first nightmare I had a nightmare that I was in my room, like that was the dream, and a hand came out from underneath my bed and grabbed me and pulled me on the floor. So ever since,
So you didn't want anyone to be able to grab you.
so yeah, ever since it's just been a pattern that's continued in adulthood. I always slept in my back to get ready for this hand, and obviously
It never came
I'm not
back.
scared now, but like it's just a habit I picked up. So I remember waking up and I was trying to get up, and I was like, oh man, I have sleep paralysis, and I was like just a little bit groggy, and I felt my mattress move. Ooh. And I looked, and somebody was walking on my mattress like towards me, and then like I was just kind of like frozen, and I looked up, and it was a woman standing and looking down at me, like just standing on top of my mattress. And obviously it wasn't real. I imagined it. Like it immediately wore off, and I started to move again, but like that was a hallucination that I had, and it was crazy.
That reminds me
nuts.
of very similar for me. I woke up and there was just someone standing over me.
Yeah,
like
dude.
It wasn't Slender Man,
But it was Slender Man.
Maybe it was Slender Man.
It
It might have been
Slender
Slender Man.
Yeah, no.
Well,
People,
that's
but,
like a
like-
common thing that people see. Like
Yeah.
there are like a couple, like there are like a few things that are like pretty like textbook. Like if you see this, you are absolutely having sleep paralysis.
yeah.
Sorry, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was it. Like in a few seconds he was gone, but it was fucking terrified me, and I couldn't go back to sleep. It was like 3 a.m.
I had another one where someone was like spooning me. So, like,
How'd you feel about it? How'd you feel about it?
I was
Was it-
so
was it nice?
scared.
Was
I
it
was so
nice?
scared. It felt like someone's hand was like around my neck like this, like and
Oh, so it wasn't
That's
sweet.
that's like
no,
choking.
because I was
That's like choking you.
like as I was like you
You
know.
shouldn't be laughing.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
isn't funny.
Did
No,
you like
it's
it?
hilarious. I woke up on this time I had sleep paralysis. I was on my side, and it felt like somebody was just like their head was right next to me like this,
Like
and their arm was
breathing?
here.
Or
And the
like
first thing
whispering in your ear?
I
Which one?
thought was like, if I turn around, what's this thing gonna look like? That's what scared me so bad, and I snapped out of it. But I've had some crazy ones, so I stopped doing that because of those experiences. I stopped lucid dreaming because I was like, it's not worth the risk of me like having one of these crazy hallucinations. I've had a ton of them, and I used to write them all down and draw them too. I know.
Now that
That's
must be
crazy.
interesting.
I know that's super weird.
Yeah,
but
where is that at?
I was into it. That's I actually have it under my bed in my apartment, and like sometimes if I have like a notable dream, I had a night last night where I had 4 different dreams. So I wrote down like 2
Yeah,
of
that
them.
sounds like the start of a horror film where like you're starting to have these dreams again, and you look through your book, and then he's right there.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
it's
the
real,
monster
and you're
is.
not actually having
Yeah.
sleep paralysis.
Of course.
You guys want to write a screenplay?
Yeah, we totally could. We totally could.
Trademark. You guys can't take this. Sorry.
Now you're stealing it. But yeah, dreams are interesting. Really strange. And
I didn't have hallucinations when I had sleep paralysis. I felt things on me. Like I felt like I had like
Oh,
spiders on me.
I hate this. Well, I'm terrified. I'm fucking terrified.
spiders?
Can I get out of here?
Spiders specifically, or just this whole notion?
Just like sleep paralysis in general.
Like I could like I just like I felt like I couldn't move, and there were just like things like crawling on me like very quickly, and like I was like I know I'm sweet, and I like
Yep.
woke up and I was like I'm not going back to sleep. Nope,
No.
no shot. I am not
no.
going
Some
back
late
to
night
sleep.
TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you put on Nick at Night. That's the
That's
best.
when you watch George Lopez and you hear.
Oh,
Nick at
what
Night
a
right
classic!
You put on Nick at Night. It's the only thing on at like 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, but that's totally a thing, and it's crazy.
Did you guys have recurring dreams when you were kids at all?
Yes.
Oh yeah, there was this. So I had 2 recurring dreams. The one where's Basically, it was almost like a zombie type scenario, but they weren't zombies. It was just like this like darkness took over everyone else, and like slowly but surely, I was the only one that wasn't taken over, and it was like them hunting me basically.
Whoa.
So fucking terrifying recurring dream I used to have. I also used to have this recurring dream where like it was almost like a pyramid of sand, and then I would just fall into it, and then like it was suffocating.
Whoa.
I couldn't get out of it. Yeah,
Dude, that's
almost.
wild.
Did you like? How often did you have these dreams? Like, was it like every night for like a couple years, or like for like a
Yeah,
year?
probably off and on for a few years. I would have this very same dream where I would wake up and be like, "Fuck, I had this dream again." Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, it was literally I felt like I was suffocating every time.
The one I had, I used to have this dream all the time. I'd walk into a museum by myself to like a dinosaur exhibit where they have dinosaur bones, and I would look up, and I would see like a flying dinosaur, like a pterodactyl, like its bones being held from the ceiling, you know, like kind of like a ceiling exhibit. And I'd look up at it, and it would fall and hit the floor, and the floor underneath me would disappear, and it would just be me falling, like just in blackness. Like it's almost like a video game. It would hit the floor would disappear, and I was just falling. Mine
is dinosaur related, and I think it's because I watched a lot of Land Before Time as a child.
Oh, that was my
Big fan.
favorite.
Big fan.
Like Littlefoot, Mother's Death. Whew, got
Terrible.
me every time.
It's on Netflix now.
It is on Netflix now. I saw that. It's so exciting. That and Iron Giant, and I was like, wow, I can really.
I was never an Iron Giant fan, but like I watched like every Land Before Time up to 8. So like I was
Probably same, honestly.
I was a big fan. I was like, I must have been like, well, I must have been like 22 at the time, but it's cool.
What happened?
Well, now you're ancient, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm as old as a dinosaur now.
Shots fired.
So I attribute this to watching a lot of Land Before Time because I like to psychoanalyze myself, and like that's my psychoanalysis of this dream. But it was always like me waking up and looking out my window and like seeing like a T-Rex eye through my window. Very Littlefoot's mom-esque T-Rex thing.
Jurassic Park.
Also very Jurassic Park.
The second movie where he looks out the window.
Yeah, that's literally exactly what it was. And I hadn't seen Jurassic Park at that point, but I think once I saw Jurassic Park, I was like cleared of this dream. Like I have not had this dream since.
Oh, cool.
But
maybe you're just looking into the future.
Yeah, I know. Wow, what a beautiful thing. But like it was just like a dinosaur, like this T-Rex, massive, would like bite the roof off of my house, and I would hear my little sister crying because I had these dreams like right after my sister was born. So like my newborn infant baby sister is crying, and like T-Rex hears her, and I like run, get her out of her crib, and like hide behind this couch that I used to hide behind whenever I play hide and seek. But like you couldn't see me if you were standing like facing the couch. You could see over it and see that I was behind there. So T-Rex would see me in Sydney and like come down and like open its mouth, and like I would wake up to like the T-Rex like trying to like get us from behind this couch.
Whoa, jeez, that's intense.
It was pretty terrible.
Did you go to Universal at that point? Did you see like the T-Rex?
No, not even. I was like,
because that thing's exactly like your dream.
Yeah,
where
it
like
was
comes down like that.
Yeah. It was my dream. And I think that's why I'm so into like Jurassic Park and stuff now, because it's just like,
oh yeah,
okay, like it's not gonna happen. You're fine.
Has that second movie in the trilogy come out yet?
Yes.
Was it any good?
I did not see it because I think it came out while I was in Korea. So I'm really bad at seeing movies on time. Like I didn't see Black Panther until April, and then I saw Infinity War the next day. Like I was just like, oh, I'll see Black Panther eventually, and then I was like, okay, well I have to see Infinity War, so like I have to just see this movie.
Did you watch Ragnarok?
I love Ragnarok.
That was one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, I agree. It was awesome. It was just so colorful, and they made
it was funny.
Thor,
like, it was a comedy. Like,
exactly.
It was funny. It wasn't so like. It wasn't so heavy. I mean, I think Black Panther is a beautiful movie, and I think that like, it might sweep the Oscars like new popular movie category that they made.
There's no question.
But like, I love Black Panther. I think it's beautiful. But like, as just like a sheer Marvel movie, I loved Ragnarok. Like,
yeah, it was so good. It was
so good.
So good. The Hulk was just so fun.
I love him.
I love the Hulk.
I had to rewatch Infinity War though, because I had originally watched it without watching Ragnarok, and like nothing made sense. At least the beginning didn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
And once I had watched it and then rewatched Infinity War, everything made so much more sense.
Yeah, Marvel's killing it. It's no secret. I mean, especially with the shows that are coming out too. Like, you know, you look anywhere and it's
everywhere.
It's so prevalent.
Incredible.
It's crazy.
They're an empire. Like they're the new. That is the new like empire.
Wild
of,
West.
That's
Wild
what
West
happens
movies.
when Disney gets a hold of you, though. They know how to market. Like, that's just what they do. And then they know how to make a great product, too, you know?
And it's loyal, and people are like, Disney is an empire. Like, absolutely is.
Totally true. We are at 10:15 right now, so it's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. Does it feel like that?
No, not at all.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
No. That's not sorry
Yeah,
at all.
that's fine.
That's just usually where we end our show. Unless there's any other topics you'd like to dive into.
No,
I could
not at
cap
all.
us
Unless
off
you
right
guys
here.
have last
No, I
things that
mean,
you...
I think you gave us a lot.
Yeah. No, it was awesome hearing about your time in Korea and your ambitions and obviously your path and how you got there. It was very cool. And I'm sure people that listen to it, they can identify with a lot of it and be inspired by it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Alexa
thanks a lot.
Ross. Ryan Acuna.
You're Alexa Winona!
You're famous.
I hate that. Wait, side note before we end. I hate Amazon Alexa so much because of shit like this.
You want to be creeped out? Did you hear about the whole laughing thing?
Yes! Terrifying.
What, they record your laugh
It's
or
a-
what?
No.
Alexa will be laughing. People call Alexa just laughing. Alexa, stop. Goodness gracious. Anyways,
Wow.
can you believe that?
No.
No, but
Very rude.
It's a lazy pickup line. People use that as a lazy pickup line. Hey, Alexa, give me your number. And I'm like, no.
Do you turn it away every time?
I'm so sorry, but yeah.
I'll say a bunch of stuff there. I'd say crazy stuff to Alexa. But yeah, Alexa would be unattended and just start laughing. It was like a whole thing where it'd be like,
Oh, that's creepy.
it was
That's
weird.
scary.
Terrifying.
Ghost.
And all of them had the same laugh too. It was like this woman's laugh, like it was
Siri's voice.
awful.
thank you.
And then
Yeah, none of that.
I accidentally said, I'm gonna say it low because I don't want to hear it. Because when we were talking about it upstairs, I said,
Don't let Alexa hear it.
I said, I was like, and yeah, so the news is saying Alexa laughs, and when I said that, it started laughing. It was nuts.
I would
But
burn my house
It
down.
was a baby. It was a baby laugh.
Ew, 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 ew,
So
ew,
so
ew.
ghosts don't scare you, but
No, that...
she who should
Right?
not
It could
be
have been any
named.
laugh. Like if it was some like ha ha ha, I'd be like, what? But it was like it was like a little baby laughing. And it was so
Babies
creepy.
are infinitely creepier than literally anything else.
It's because of their big
ever.
heads, and also because of Toy Story, that baby monster.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Big Baby. The thing he was just called Big Baby.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
How do you know? They don't even mention the name of that
They
monster
do.
in the movie.
They do.
Do
I
they?
promise you that. I promise you they do.
You want to fact check that?
He's so good at cartoon stuff, like better than me, and like that's the industry I'm trying to work in. You know everything about like cartoons, and
I don't know about that, but
dude, that's
Look it up.
crazy. Yeah, but this has been episode 43. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for
thank
having
you.
me, guys.
Appreciate it, and I want you to come on again, obviously in the future if you have time, with your
whenever.
big girl job, and good luck with that.
Thank you.
yeah.
This is episode 43. We're signing off. See you next time. Yo, yo, yo. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Andrewcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your attention. Before we get into the content of today's episode, I definitely want to get into our sponsor that I've been so graciously gifted, Roast House Coffee, located in South Texas. Now, you may be saying, Andrew, I'm not a coffee person. You know, I like tea. I like drinking tea and honey and throw a little bit of milk in there. You know, I'm trying to live my life. Look, I understand you're trying to live your life, okay? I understand you may not be a coffee person. I wasn't either until I got me some Roast House coffee. Now, Roast House was gracious enough to send me Liquid Thunder. Liquid Thunder is a fan favorite in-house blend made by the Roast Coffee House. It combines the bold, smooth taste of dark roasted Colombian coffee beans with a subtle hint of chocolate to top it off. You can't beat it, bro. Let me tell you a little bit more about Roast House. The Roast House is not your ordinary coffee shop. They roast freshly imported coffee beans from all around the world in-house daily. located in Brownsville, home of the brave, putting work in the street like a slave. Texas. Our mission is to bring the taste of the world into South Texas, one bean at a time. From popular flavors to in-house blends, we serve all natural, preservative-free coffee, espressos, teas, and other beverages. Homie, come on into our shop and enjoy a fresh cup of joe, or take some bean grounds home for your loved ones. So come get a fresh cup of joe, or come take some beans to go. You heard it here first. Take some grounds home for your loved ones to enjoy. And for those not living in South Texas, don't fret. Don't even worry about it. We will be launching an online store soon for coffee lovers across the world. You too will be able to taste coffee done right. Listen, folks, if you want some coffee, you want some high-grade stuff, you don't want to mess around with the Starbucks, right? You don't want to mess around with the Dunkin' Donuts. You don't want to mess around with the Wawa. You don't want to mess around with the McDonald's coffee, all right? You want to go straight to the house, the Roast House. Baby, Roast House Coffee. Look it up online. Look it up on Instagram. It's the newest. It's the latest. Thank you so much for sponsoring my podcast. Everyone enjoy today's episode. Love you.